In a galaxy far, far away, there exists a group of fierce and fabulous women who are on a mission to explore the depths of pop culture. They are the Galactic Gals, and they are here to take you on a journey through the cosmos of entertainment. From the latest TV shows and movies to a trip down the Milky Way of nostalgia, they will delve into the worlds of fantasy and imagination, bringing you insights and analysis that are out of this world. So buckle up, cosmonauts, and get ready to blast off with the Galactic Gals Pop Culture Podcast.
Hey everybody!
Hey
Technical
everybody!
difficulties there for whatever reason. I had to go live, and it just there's an extra other button you have to hit, so we had to listen to the intro twice. Could be worse things, I guess.
Yeah, I like it.
Yeah, me too. Me
Sitting
too.
here
Apparently,
bebopping to that music. Love that soundtrack. It's great.
Get you pumped up.
It does.
Because we got a lot to talk about today. A lot of fun stuff. Some annoying stuff, but we have some fun stuff after that.
I feel compelled to say that I am not a galactic gal. I guess maybe I'm a galactic guy. But I want to clear that up before we go any further.
Yeah, Beyond the Mainframe says Retro Doc is identifying as a galactic gal today.
Not that that's not a great thing to be. But I have to draw the line somewhere.
Well, he's not drinking Bud Light, so we're good.
Nobody is.
No, nobody is. It's on the shelf. It's pretty much,
Did you see that screen grab? I guess from one of the at some convention. It was either a convention or a game or whatever, and there was a Bud Light booth, and literally there's nobody there. All the other booths are filled with people in lines, and the only person sitting there is the guy leaning against the counter. Right. On the thing, and it's oh my gosh, it's great.
Yeah. Yeah, it's packed up down at my HEB. It's this. I looked yesterday after I went and got my shot, and it's packed. No one's buying it, so.
Yeah, I laugh as I walk by it and see it all sitting there.
Yeah, so, it's a good laugh. How progressive of you, Retro Doc.
Oh man.
trying
Kelly,
it on.
Kelly
There will be no
says, I know he's
bikini
worn a
tops.
bikini top,
No,
but
there will be no bikini tops.
not in this stream. No,
No.
that's in the past. All right, so thanks to Retro Doc, I've been told there is a new cryptic teaser. There's also these reversal teasers that you let me know about, and which one do you want to watch first, guys? It's really up to you. I'm beyond caring at this point. I'm annoyed. I'll be honest. I'm annoyed with this dangling carrots. Just give us another trailer if you're gonna do that.
Yeah, for real.
I was thinking maybe RTD's plan is to release about 120 of these things, and then we can just like stitch them all together
and then have an
create
episode?
like an entire episode, and then we won't have to bother with the 60.
I don't know. I don't know. I'm annoyed, but we can watch them.
I just don't understand. Well,
let's go ahead and watch them.
That until we watch
let's watch the reversal one first.
So this is a reversal. This is the reversed version of the first one that came out, and you have to listen to the audio because there's clear things in the audio that doesn't say Paul is dead, but there are other messages in there.
Okay, let's see. There's 2 of them here, so I'm trying to figure out. Okay, I have too many tabs up today, so I'm just like, okay, here we go. All right.
Cryptic. I hate that.
Why did this face come back?
Okay, so here's the audio, and then maybe you can play it again. So here's what apparently what is said. So at first, you hear 14, I guess we're calling him David Tennant, say cryptic, I hate that. And then you can hear Donna say, why do you have this face again? So go ahead and play it again and see what that, bear that in mind. I think you'll probably be able to hear it more clearly.
I hate that.
Why did this face come back?
Yeah.
Why did this face come back?
Why did this face come back? And then he says, cryptic, I hate that.
Right. So obviously, and I knew it was all about Donna's memory. And there's, I want to be nice. I don't want to say anything about other people that are streaming. I just, and people on Twitter, but I swear to God, I had a person today. I said, it's obviously that's the case where his hand, when you watch the original, like you see the case where it's Tim's hands in it, right? So this has to do with Donna's memory and her being Dr. Donna and everything. I had literally heard somebody say, I swear I seen Ncuti Gatwa and Matt Smith standing together in that.
No. That's like, somebody just trying to insert themselves into the whole.
Right. And it's just this kind of thing drives me insane. If you want to drive me insane, have all this cryptic crap. And this will make me just go on the deep end and make videos just screaming about it. And I don't want to. I really don't want to have to do that, guys. I really don't. Use your brain. It's not going to be that complicated. He's just screwing with you, holding a carrot in front of you, and you guys are acting more. It's like, really? Come on, man. It's seriously, it's not that difficult. And I know that's mean, but and I'm not even drinking yet, so just staying.
And supposedly amongst all the computer coding, that we're seeing, like the flashes of the coding under like
it's
network
like her brain.
There is supposedly there was a number sequence which matched the number, the issue number, and the release date of the first issue of the Doctor Who Weekly back in 1980 that featured Beep the Meep for the Star Beast. Just as another indicator that which we already knew that from the trailers,
right?
So they're embedding like cute little codes in that, or whatever for the.
I thought that was maybe her brain, like they're trying to say like this is her brain and it's up. It's like a reboot of her brain. That's what I thought because
I never thought of that. That's very good.
Well, or it could be like a memory of hers, or she's dreaming inside her dream. So I don't know.
I mean, I don't know. Maybe we're all thinking of this way too deeply. I don't know. I just think it's something very simple. It always is. And then people are going to be like disappointed that it's not what their dreams, like Matt Smith being together with Ncuti Gatwa. which is in their fantasies apparently. I don't know.
I understand that it's fun for, fans to, spend all weekend parsing through things like this and reversing the audio and trying to figure it out. But to me, like, trailers shouldn't, if they're supposed to just get me excited, shouldn't be work.
I don't. I'm not one of those people that get excited over the look. I like true crime. I like researching true crime. I love it. I should have been in like a FBI profiler because I absolutely love it. Right? I do. This shit I hate. I mean, I can't tell you how many cases I've like in the past 5 years that I've researched over and over, true crime cases, right? Over and over again, right? This, no, I want nothing. I don't want any of this. I just want a trailer. I want to be entertained. I don't want to have to work for it. And that may sound lazy, but actually you're not really working for it because it's pretty obvious what this is, in my opinion.
I mean, I'll usually wait for the article on one of the Doctor Who news pages or something, which has already gone to the trouble of doing it and saying, oh, here's what's there. It's like, fine, you do the work and tell me, and then I'll go, okay, and then I'll go on to the next thing. But
and then I'll go, you're wrong or whatever.
Yeah,
right?
I'm not going to sit and get
your kicks.
Do the audio investigation myself.
Other places like researching serial killers. Okay. I mean, I have issues, but whatever. But that isn't like something I'm into at all. Yeah. And so here's the other one. Here's the new one. This is not the reversed one.
Right.
This is brand new.
This is the edge of creation.
I don't like the fact that they co-opted the Galactic Gals announcer for that. This is the edge of creation.
Oh, really?
Is that the same person?
No. And I will tell you, I'll reveal to you who it is, and you would never, ever guess it in a million years. The original idea was to get Tom Baker to do it. Not actual Tom Baker, but AI Tom Baker.
Wow.
But Jason was like, if this becomes big, I really, really, really don't want any kind of issues. Yeah, I don't want his people to come back and go, you didn't get permission. I know this isn't Tom, but this sounds like Tom. If I could afford to get Tom Baker, I would definitely have him do it. But actually, it is a voice from a All in the Family episode. That was the cop in one of the episodes, and Jason found it, and I think it sounds great. So
they mentioned Galactic Gals and All in the Family.
No. He used this is the beauty of AI, and we really need to do a stream on this because AI is incredible what it can do. You can take audio of someone's voice saying something totally different, and you can type in what you want it to say, and it will say it.
Wow.
Yes. So we did do Tom Baker's, and it sounded amazing. And there was a little slight different intonation, a little slight the voice didn't quite, but it sounded so much like Tom Baker that I was a little nervous about doing that. I would have loved to have done it, but.
Well, here's the thing. One of the many reasons I love your intro is that the voice actually does sound like something you'd see in one of those like 50s or early 60s sci-fi movie trailers.
Right. And
so it fits, the voice fits the era that you're evoking.
Yeah, it reminds me of like a Rod Serling to that a little bit different, but that kind of that like, this is the outer limits or something.
Yeah. Or Tales from the Dark Side even.
Yeah, something like that, like a pulp horror, pulp sci-fi, which was totally what I was going for. So anyway, thank you, Jason, for finding that voice. But that's the secret revealed. It's just an AI. You type in words and it says anything you want to say. So this is going to be the future of YouTube.
So in the trailer that you just, I don't even want to call it a trailer. It was not.
It's not a trailer.
That is not a trailer. So in that, there's like little garble at the end, and supposedly in the article where that made me aware of that second trailer in the first place, supposedly somebody's already reversed the audio on the second one, and it has David Tennant saying she mentioned Gallifrey.
Right, which means Donna probably mentioned Gallifrey, in my opinion.
And then also, apparently, there's a part of the computer code at the end. There's like a thing which says like redacted at the very end or something.
Right.
And supposedly there's computer code right above that, and there's a string of numbers and letters. And apparently it's backward, but if you reverse that little number letter chain above the redacted thing in the video, it spells out Eurovision 13/05/2023, which is May 13, 2023. And everybody's going now, clearly that means there's going to be a full trailer during Eurovision next weekend. So, and it does, I mean, I'm looking at the screen grab, it does spell out backwards Eurovision with that number. And that's clearly can't be, that's clearly intentional.
Oh, yeah. Well, thank God. Maybe this maybe this is the last one that we'll see, because I really hope this is not going to be something weekly where these cryptid. They're just annoying.
No, it's annoying
and I'm not trying to be a dick. I'm really not. But I can't do. I will go insane. I will literally just be like every week griping about that. And
well, clearly this kind of thing isn't directed toward the general public, because the general public doesn't give a crap about these 8-second.
No, and I think that they should be doing something to get the general public.
Yeah, I think this is for the fans, and if there is a big thing during Eurovision next weekend, that will be for everybody. And I think these may be little just perks,
It'll be for normal people. Yeah. And I do think this is all about Donna, obviously, and you're only going to know that if you've watched. I mean, who hasn't watched season 4, right? I mean, series 4. I get them confused with the classic. Classic's called season. New Who's called series, right? Yes. I always get it mixed up. Just call it season.
And I'm actually gonna call it now. I'm actually gonna predict that, just like I think you're right about the Donna thing. I actually think that just like Moffat had the curator, which came totally out of the blue, which was a shock. I mean, yeah, Tom Baker gave it away jokingly a couple days before it actually aired, but nobody really believed him. So it was a shock when the curator came on the screen and did the doctor. I actually think there's going to be something like that in the 60th that is not getting any publicity, and I would bet my bottom dollar Billy Piper is going to show back up.
Oh God!
I'm calling it now. That's just a prediction, but I'm thinking that for the 60th, RTD is going to try like a curator type of, wow, nobody's going to be expecting this type of thing.
Oh my God!
And I'm thinking, what could that be? Martha would be great, but I don't think that's big enough. I think it's going to be Billy Piper.
Please let it be Martha. Please. I can't stand Billy Piper. I just can't stand her. And I'm not trying to insult anybody. I know people hate Clara, and they don't, but I don't even like Billy Piper. Just annoys me as a person. On top of that, I just don't like her character. I've watched too many panels with her sounding very vapid, and it just. I just want her to go away now. I just want her to go away forever. Some people feel that way about River. I'd rather have River come back. Okay, River would be better than Billy Piper. I'm sorry. I'm sick of her too. But my God.
Why do I envision a cat going herka, 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 right before he throws up a fur ball? Yeah.
God, why? Why is he so predictable? Stop being predictable, RTD. Yes, we want the same, but we also want to be wowed too.
Yeah.
Wowing is not bringing the chav back and her drool over the 14th Doctor and say how much she loves him. And that's coming, and I'm going to puke all over myself. Please, 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 RTD, do not do this to me. I will need a big bong. Anyway, so enough of that. Well, I don't know. Maybe we should go to the chat and ask their opinion of it. But let's see what we got here. We got they're definitely talking about this.
Yeah, let's put up another comment other than the bikini top, please.
Yeah, come on.
It's been up there for 20 minutes.
I can put it back. Come on, Moffat rebooted the whole universe. I don't know. Yeah, but they've done that several times, haven't they? I mean, in every show that I've ever watched, there's always been an apocalypse, or we've got to reboot the whole universe. I mean, it's kind of a tired thing. I get it. Let's see. There's a part of me. Come on, Win now. There's a part of me that likes these cryptic mini trailers because I get it because it's like a puzzle, but you're not annoying about it. You actually have common sense. It's like when I see these, I need to stay off Twitter because I see all these really dumb like fantasy like posts that they want to see. Like, I think I see Capaldi. I think I see this. It's like, I think I see the Eighth Doctor. I think I see, you know, some character from the 1967, I don't know, episode. I mean, I'm exaggerating, but it feels that way. So you're not doing that though.
We already know Capaldi's not coming back. He said as
I know. And that's a fantasy of mine, but I don't go around going, you know, I think I see Capaldi in there. I see those eyebrows shining through that.
You know what you were saying earlier about your intro? You know, with the AI, is there a way? I wonder what like a Malcolm Tucker intro for Galactic Gals would
see again. I don't want Peter Capaldi's people to come. You know, I would love Peter Capaldi to notice me and go, "Wow, that's so great! I love that. I'm cool with it." But you know, I respect him enough not to do that. I would love it.
You'd have to have like half your intro bleeped out, you know, as Malcolm Tucker goes on one of his rants.
Yeah.
I would have to like put a.
It's the blanking Galactic Gals.
Yeah.
That would be a hoot, though. It really would.
It would. Yeah. I don't know. I think some people like these cryptic trailers. I personally don't. But what, Eurovision is still going? I didn't think that anyone cared. I don't know. I don't know much about it. Did I tell you I adore you today? Aw. Thank you.
She's talking about me.
It's just sweet.
Thank you.
Yeah. She probably is. I'm not a fan of Rose. The whole romance thing annoys me. Oh, yes, you're my people. You're my people.
Yeah, my husband can't stand Rose either.
When he hears this, he's gonna have the same reaction that I did, I'm sure. It would be great to see Freema come back. I'm not going to lie, I do love Billy, but I think we need to move on from Rose's character now. Freema would,
I agree. She's great.
Yeah, I mean, Freema would be better. I think it would. I think because Freema tells him off. Martha told him off, and I respected that because he needed telling off. He was being a dickhead.
Yep.
I mean, just, you know. All right, so let's go on to the good stuff. I'm like ready to talk about something that makes us happy. I don't know. Maybe that makes you happy. I don't know. Maybe it does. It doesn't me. It
Rose
makes me
does
angry.
not make me happy.
I didn't mind Rose. You know,
Ian.
What are you doing? Hey, Ian, you come in here, start like trouble.
I have to clarify though. There's two Roses though. There's the Eccleston Rose, which was very good because they were a great team, and you know, she wasn't annoying or whatever. But the minute that Tennant shows up, she became whiny and needy, and you know, they were codependent. They had this smug attitude where they knew better than anybody they ever encountered, and she was insufferable with Tennant. So there's two Roses.
Yeah, like a lovesick puppy. Yeah.
No, it's all in good fun. That's fine. You know, I think Eccleston Rose is much better. I agree with Gary. And you know what? When she sees 14, she's gonna like fall all over herself and drool. It's so tiring. I just don't like the romance thing. I never have. I don't want romance in Doctor Who. I like I said, there's people I've literally not gotten into arguments with, but we've gotten into very heated debates about if Clara and Capaldi were a couple. They weren't. It was not that kind of dynamic. I know people want to see that, and I know that's a thing. If you want to ship them, hey, whatever you want to do in your spare time, do it. But I don't do that because I like the whole like he looked at her like Susan or a daughter. It was a very pure love, and I think it's nice for a change to have a pure love in a show rather than just like they want to get in bed together, or you know, there's some romantic overtones. I appreciated that about their relationship. So when people say that they were in a or they saw like hints of a relationship, and and that all that it kind of ruffles my feathers a little bit. So
I really with Clara and Capaldi. Oh,
there's a whole.
I never got that.
Yeah. You talk to what I call Capaldi girls. There's this. I think that they want that to be true so badly that they create this shipping thing in their mind.
Oh, like a projection thing, you mean?
Yeah, I think so. And granted, I could see where they could come to that conclusion in some parts, especially in Face the Raven when he's reacting the way he's doing. But I think, again, it's like he loved her in a very pure way. And I think she felt the same way about him. Otherwise, she wouldn't have gone out with Danny. She would have went with him.
Don't ever say that word.
What, Danny?
Yes.
That's a curse word here. Danny Pink. And the sad thing about Danny Pink and his character is the actor that plays him is a really good actor. And actually, he did an audio book for Doctor Who.
Oh.
And it was really good. It was really, and I can't remember the name of it. It was like a 12 Tales of the Doctor. And it was a good one. And it was actually with Capaldi. It was with the Capaldi one. And it was really good. And like he was a good actor. I think he was just wasted.
Yeah.
Anyway, let's get to the good stuff.
We want to get the good stuff, but we keep dragging back to the stuff.
I know. They pull us back in. It's like the mob. Like I hate that. I do. I just want to talk about something fun today because I think.
Boy, you really. Before we get to the good stuff, I want to say that the very mention of Danny sets the entire chat off. Nobody likes the guy.
I know it does. If you want attention to Danny Pink as a hashtag, and then do a stream about it. That's what I should do. Boy, I might actually get some views if I do that. You think?
Look at that art. I could look at that art all day.
All right, so we're going to present. And let me know if you can see the animation of this, because if you can't, I'm going to be really mad because I worked on this. Can you see that?
Yeah.
Okay.
I like that.
I can really see that.
All right, cool. Okay, so this is fun stuff. I'm trying not to curse so much. I've already cursed, 5 times already? FCC is going to come after me. So we are going to talk about Michelle's picks for her comfort watches. So the first one that you chose was Stargate Atlantis, and I have never watched the show. But so let's get a little bit of background on this. So I actually used AI to do this. So you have to correct me if AI is wrong.
Okay.
So Stargate Atlantis is a science fiction television series and part of the Stargate franchise. It was filmed in and around Vancouver, British Columbia, Canada. The show follows the present-day adventures of Major John Shepard and his military team from Earth as they explore distant planets in the Pegasus Galaxy using an alien device known as the Stargate. The show features a self-contained story that also contributes to the larger storyline of the war against the Wraith and the Atlantis residents searched for the means to destroy their enemy. Some interesting trivia about the show includes that it was the longest-running science fiction program that aired consecutive episodes without halting, and that Jason Momoa, hubba, played the character Ronan Dex. And so we have some fast facts. Wow. Jason Momoa, who played Ronan Dex, got a tattoo on his left forearm between seasons 2 and 3, which led to Ronan getting a tattoo in the series as well. Stargate Atlantis was the longest-running science fiction program that aired. Okay, we already know that. The final season of Stargate Atlantis introduced new characters and antagonists, including a revival of Asgard. Stargate Atlantis was a spinoff of Stargate SG-1, which had a longer run of 10 seasons. Atlantis was originally intended to succeed Stargate's SG-1 after its 7th season and a second feature movie. Stargate Atlantis has devoted fan base, and there are many interesting facts about the franchise, such as Cheyenne Mountain Complex being home to a real branch of the U.S. military. The final season of Stargate Atlantis introduced new characters and antagonists. Okay, we already heard that. Stargate Atlantis put together a new team of characters to traverse an unexplored region of the cosmos. The Nox, a race that appeared in Stargate SG-1, remain a fascinating enigma and a rich ground for new stories in the future. And we need to go back because that is so. Before we talk about this show, let's talk about Stargate Atlantis. I didn't mean to hit that button. And I don't think there's no way to go back. So
that's all right.
Okay.
Stargate Atlantis, man, that's my go-to show. I love that show. And everything that they talked about that you read, spot on.
Okay.
Spot on.
Well, that's good to know.
Yeah. Stargate, gosh, 10 seasons, that's where I learned all my Egyptology from, was Stargate, because everything's based on the Egyptian gods and goddesses. And then Stargate Atlantis, because it's dealing with ancients. You have the ancients, the Furlings, the Nox, and ancients, Nox, Furlings, the Asgard, and the humans. We're supposed to be the fifth race. And we were descended from ancients in the series. And so they go to Atlantis, where the ancients actually came from, the gate builders, and just whole new set of adventures. And my favorite character on Atlantis is played by David Hewlett, and he plays Dr. Rodney McKay. He's a genius, PhD in astrophysics and mechanical engineering, and he runs the science team there in Atlantis, and he's their answer man. Got a problem? Go to Rodney. Need to stop a nuclear bomb? Go to Rodney. Need to build one? Go to Rodney.
He's like the MacGyver.
He is.
Yeah.
And his acting dynamics. I love how when he at first started, he's timid and shy, and he's a science person, never fired a gun, never really liked the military side of things. But he becomes, throughout the series, best friends with Major John Shepard, who actually gets promoted to colonel through the demise of another colonel, but that's another story for another time. But they become best friends, and he adapts to that lifestyle, and they, just meld together very well. And he learns how to be a team player. And you see his character just build over the seasons. He goes from this shy, well, not shy really. His defense mechanism is arrogance, obviously. And if you were to watch the series, you would see that, because he never would have any close friends, because people would always, hurt him or beat him up because he was a geek. But he overcomes that in so many ways.
Yeah. You sound like you've watched the show a lot. I can tell by the things that you know about this show. And I have a couple of those. But at some point when you watch it so much and you just keep going back for more, and that to me is a sign of a show that's worth watching, when you just can't stop. You just have to, it's your go-to if you're feeling kind of bad, or you just want to pick me up, or just to be entertained or escape. It sounds like a very interesting show. I was never really into the Stargate universe, but it sounds actually a really interesting show.
Could you watch that without having seen the parent show? Because I never watched any of the Stargate series, because they were all on cable. I didn't have cable.
Yeah, you can. You'll miss some things because they do interact with each other at times. The shows do meet up, because Dr. McKay, he was actually in a couple episodes of Stargate SG-1, and he had the hots for the SG-1's resident scientist, which was Samantha Carter, but she never liked him because of his arrogance. You got two.
You mean they do like crossovers? Where a story starts on one series and ends on the other one?
Yes. Okay. But it's still a great series. There's an episode in season 5 with David Hewlett, and his sister's in that episode too, Kate Hewlett, and he actually regresses back into a child again, mindset wise, because he gets a parasite in his brain, and his acting dynamic with that is just, you can actually tell he is acting like an Alzheimer's patient would, or somebody with a childlike mindset. And it just blew me away when I watched it. And I just watched it again this morning before I come on. And it's like, geez, this guy's really talented. And also in real life, he does a lot of things for kids. He runs a show called Tech Bandits, and he's really is a real geek in real life. You know, is up on the technology and the AI and everything. And that's what I love about him. He's great.
So you have any your favorite 2 episodes or your favorite scenes between characters? Do you have like, you know, something you can give us an example of, you know, in case someone's, you know, to kind of pull people into watching it? I think that's the point of me asking earlier on this week about, you know, what episodes could you think you could see getting pulled into the series?
Yeah, we had homework.
Yeah.
Blue Bonnet gave us homework.
Yeah. I'm serious about this stuff.
There's actually an episode, season 2, episode 4. It's called Duet. They're scouting out this planet, and the Wraith come in a dart little spaceship, and they cull people because they feed on them. The Wraith are this alien race, and they take and they slap, you know, their hand on your chest because they have a slit here, and they just suck the life out of you basically. And they try to get out of the way of the dart, but he had his hand on her shoulder, or the Marine that he was with, she had her hand on his shoulder, and they get scooped up together. Well, they shoot the dart down, and they have to get him out of the, I guess, matrix, if you want, or the memory banks, and they bring him back, and they go back, you know, check him out and everything, but he has her consciousness inside of his head. So you got, you know, this male actor playing as a female too, and it's just hysterically funny. For him to just slip into this role as a female, I mean, and the mannerisms, and you know women go, he does that like perfectly.
Right. I like when they do that in a serious show like that, because it kind of breaks up the, you know, the dark scenes, or I really do. That kind of like gets me interested, because I don't know. I mean, I think you have to be a good writer to be able to do that, but it sounds like something I would probably be interested in just checking out. Can you watch? Okay, here, and Gary had this kind of a similar question. Can you watch these episodes, or is it like, are they episodic, or are they like a story, like a long story arc, just through this?
They're episodic, and then there are some that are 2 or 3 episodes long. So yeah,
okay.
Their whole goal is to
kind of mix it up.
Yeah, and the city Atlantis, it runs on these things called ZPMs or ZPMs. That's their power source. And so they're looking all over the Pegasus galaxy trying to find more, because the city will fly. And their goal is to, you know, get power for that city so they can keep exploring and eventually fly it. And it does eventually fly. Yeah.
Okay. So. Okay. Yeah, that sounds, in the way you explain it, is much better than actually what IMDb explains it in AI. Actually, it actually, you make it sound like something that, you know, just from your enthusiasm. I think that's a big thing. That's with me. Like, I want to get people something that they can watch in these dark times of not being able to find anything new to watch.
Right.
And there are some newer shows that are good, but generally, like, we have to kind of go back a little bit further to find some stuff sometimes. And you know, that's my goal. And what when I started the channel a long time ago, and just this, the goal is like, well, and I've said it on here, like, we're just people, and we're 2 chicks that just want to find something decent to watch on TV. And we're just people that want to find something decent to watch on TV that we can escape with.
Right.
And I think that that's the goal of, you know, just the fandom, just in general. It's just, we want to be entertained. So, and I've seen this next one that we're going to talk about. I've seen some of it. I haven't finished it. So, and it's okay if you spoil, because I don't even remember where I left off at this point. But we're going to talk about Person of Interest.
Okay.
So, Person of Interest is an American science fiction crime drama television series. It aired on CBS from 2011 to 2016. The series follows a former CIA agent named John Reese and a wealthy programmer named Harold Finch, who work together to prevent crimes using surveillance. All that sends them is the identities of civilians involved in impending crimes. The show was created by Jonathan Nolan and executive produced by Nolan, J.J. Abrams. For J.J. Abrams' thing, it's a really good show.
It
I'm
is.
just saying. Brian Burke and Greg Plagerman. And I don't know why, but like I think I went extra on the facts for whatever reason, but these are a lot of facts. And we'll talk. I'll let you talk, and then I'll go over some of these. Because I think I really went way over with the facts. I was digging deep with this one, apparently. So, tell us a little about a person of interest from in your words, not AI words.
Yeah. Well, obviously, it deals with AI. I mean, and that was, back when the show came out. And it's this Harold, he creates this artificial intelligence, for the computers to help people. And of course, the government wanted it. His partner, Nathan, I think, sold it to the government for like $1, but of course the government wants to use it for evil purposes, which, go figure. And the AI, it's evolving, and Harold, he's tried people before Mr. Reese came along to help him save people. And he, finds John on this train, because the opening scene
that scene was awesome.
I mean, here's this haggard looking drunk bum, and these thugs come onto the subway, and he just looks at them, and they try to mess with him, and then he just, they're all in the floor next, and he's like, "Don't mess with me," type, and just, I mean, he kicks their butts. He really kicks their butts.
Yes.
And, walks away and meets Finch, and, Finch basically changes his life, gives him a purpose again.
And there's obviously some backstory about himself too, what he was involved with as well. And I won't reveal that in case you want to watch the show, because there's a lot of twists and turns in this.
There are.
I'm enjoying it. I kind of got away from it because I got distracted with other things, but I fully intend to go back and definitely watch it some more.
If you watch it now, you'll see a lot of parallels with what's going on in the world today.
Absolutely.
And
I've already noticed that.
Mind-blowing. Yeah.
And I like the fact that to me, when I started watching it, it started out as one show, and then as you go on, it becomes more science fiction, which I love.
Yeah.
My only real gripe about the show that I've seen so far is that it kind of got away from Reese and more onto the other characters that
a little bit
that I hated. Like Root was okay. I just felt like they were kind of focused too much on her, and then the other girl too much, and not Reese. Because to me, Reese and Harold, what's his name?
Harold Finch. Yeah,
Harold Finch. Right. I liked their dynamic together. I really enjoyed that. I thought they had a very kind of rusty relationship, but at some point they kind of seemed to like, have this cool like dynamic between the two. And I enjoyed Root, and I enjoyed all that with the whole computer thing that I know Gary hasn't watched it, so I'm trying to.
The thing about with me, I think when it first came on, the reason I didn't start it when it first came on was, as you said, Andy, it didn't become clear until much, much later that this was more of a science fiction show.
Right.
So,
and that was my holdup. But I like Jim Caviezel, so I'm like, okay.
But Jonathan Nolan, I mean, produces great stuff. I mean, his movies. I mean, The Prestige is one of my favorite movies of all time, and that's Jonathan Nolan. And even though Westworld kind of imploded in the second season, I mean, Jonathan Nolan really produces quality stuff.
Right. And you know what I love? Okay, I want to add this because I think I said this on Discord. But what I love about our list is that they're
Mhm.
all different. Like we literally chose all different shows, except we did choose, two of us chose the same show but different eras.
Hmm.
Okay.
So so I think that's very, I like that, because
That's
it's not
good.
like, yeah,
Yeah.
it is really good because it opens up to people to being watching things they're not open to, you know. It's like, because sometimes I think that when you just watch a trailer for something, it isn't, you hear enthusiasm from people, and that's, again, that's what I'm here for. But and
Yeah.
so in Person of Interest, other than the first scene where he beats the crap out of the thugs, which I absolutely loved. I could rewind that forever because these were
Yeah.
terrible people. What are your favorite, and I won't say episodes because it's like this is kind of a long story arc. What are your
Yeah.
favorite scenes in this franchise?
Anytime Fusco would call
Oh,
Root Cocoa Puffs.
oh yes, yes,
You
Fusco.
know,
I totally forgot about him. He's
you know,
awesome. He becomes awesome. He grows
he
on
does. He does. And Elias,
you. Mm-hmm.
his character reveal, you know, who he,
Oh,
you know, when he
that
was
guy.
yes, yes.
Total
I
mob.
mean, yeah, I mean, and that whole dynamic of, you know, him versus Dominic. I don't think you made it that far.
No.
But yeah, there's a whole other storyline with that. But one of my other favorite scenes is John gets captured, him and another guy who's been laundering money, and the bad guys, they have a Belgian Malinois, and the dog is barking and barking and barking, and John's just sitting there laughing. He's all tied up and everything, and he's like, you know, Belgian Malinois, we use, you know, those kind of dogs in my unit in Tikrit overseas, and you know, they don't bark because of, you know, they're mad or anything. They're barking because they're anxious. And you know, I bet you guys don't know that they also spoke Dutch commands to the dogs, and then you start speaking Dutch because they want the dog to attack him, and then the dog just sits and rolls over and lays down, and then you hear gunshots, and then he calls the dog out, you know. So yeah.
John Reese has such great scenes in this,
He
like just the way
does.
he takes care of business, that I just love it. I love it. It's almost like it has a very James Bond feel in a way too.
Yep.
When he's interacting in the scenes, and the Bourne Identity, some of that reminds me of the Bourne series, and I enjoy that too. But I do like the fact that it is science fiction, and I do think it's definitely worth watching. Or starting it, you know, it has ebbs and lows, but I think I haven't got to the end yet, so I can't really speak to that. But
the ending made me so mad.
No spoilers.
That's all I'm going to say. No.
Yeah.
And you know, I think it could have went on, but he probably was going to film other things. So
yeah,
and we didn't watch the series until after it had already aired, and we started buying the DVDs and stuff. So
that's the best way to go, physical media. Because eventually HBO Max will take that off, and I'll be very sad. So then I'll have to start buying the DVDs. So don't be like me. Go ahead and do it if you can. Okay, so here's some of the facts. I probably won't read all of these. I'll try not to. We've already mentioned that Jonathan Nolan, Gary mentioned that. The show's main characters, John Reese and Harold Finch, were named after two historical figures. John Reese, a soldier in the American Revolution, and Harold Finch, a British codebreaker during World War II. The show's writers used a writer's room approach, where a group of writers would work together to break down the story for each episode. The show's production team used a variety of filming techniques to create a unique visual style, including handheld cameras, long takes, and conventional camera angles. The show, we know about Jonathan Nolan. The show's main characters were originally named Harold Wren and John Rooney. The show's theme song, The Contingency, was composed by Ramon Djawadi. I probably butchered that. Who also composed the music for the Game of Thrones and Westworld. The show was filmed on location in New York City, and the production team used a custom-built camera rig to capture footage of the city's streets and landmarks. And I think that's pretty much of all the facts we're going to talk about, because we're going to talk about the next one, which is totally different. It's not a series. It's The Hobbit: An Unexpected Journey.
Yes.
Yeah. So we're gonna this is your comfort watch.
Yeah.
And I think pretty much anybody probably knows what the show's about. Do I need to read it? Probably not.
No.
No, I probably don't.
I've never
No.
heard of
I'm
that.
into
Tell me
this.
about it.
You mean tell you about it, Carrie?
I tell you, they couldn't have picked a better person to play Bilbo. I love Martin Freeman as
Yeah.
Bilbo Baggins.
Yeah. Yeah.
And the scenery from filming in New Zealand is just gorgeous. I want to go there so bad.
Yeah, I've heard that people have done tours of this specific, like the areas, and it's a big thing. So tell us what you love about this show. Like, tell you what is it about it that when let's say it comes on TV. I mean, are you one of these people? Because there's certain shows in my list. There's a couple of movies in my list that if it comes on TV and I'm just flipping around, which is rare, but if I'm flipping around and I see, like, say it was this movie and I saw this movie, would it be something you just like, look, I know I've seen this 50,000 times, but I can't help myself. I gotta watch it. Is it one of those?
Yes, it is. Or I'll, walking from the living room to the kitchen and it's on. It's like, oh, there goes the head looking over that way. Yeah. Because it takes me back to my Dungeons and Dragons roots. With the riddles, the questing that he goes on, and he learns a lot about himself. I think we can all relate with something like that in our life. We all go on these journeys, whether it be a work journey, just a vacation, anything like that. And, we can all identify as Bilbo, where we find ourselves in various situations, and it's, we learn a lot about ourselves. He learned a lot about himself.
Right.
And he made friends. He was this standoffish hobbit who just wanted to stay home and not do anything, never go on an adventure.
Sounds like me.
Yeah, sounds good to me.
I mean, I want to travel now. I want to go see these places, do these things.
Right.
And
I just want second breakfast.
That too. And, get to hang out with elves.
Yeah.
I mean, even there, the battle or the feud between the dwarves and the elves, that's modern day life now.
Right.
I mean, there's just so many themes that you can pull from.
Yeah, Tolkien was good at that. He was good at it, it was all metaphors and all, especially with the Lord of the Rings and how it was very biblical. If you look at it, I mean, The Hobbit, I don't really know. It's just basically the beginning of how, he came across the ring and that type of thing. And I remember reading this book when I was a teenager and just falling in love with it. And just, I read The Lord of the Rings later, and I always preferred The Hobbit because to me, The Hobbit seemed a lot more magical.
Yeah.
And I'm a fan of the Rankin and Bass cartoon. Yep. That's what I grew up with.
I'm curious. I want to ask before I forget. So have either of you done a marathon where you've watched all the extended versions of the 3 Hobbit movies in a row and then immediately watched the extended versions of I think they're all 4 hours, of all the Lord of the Rings movies in a row? I think that would be 24 hours or whatever.
Yeah,
have you ever done that?
I haven't done that. I've used to have my son stole them. I used to have all the DVDs, and my son took them with him because he's a huge fan, which I'm fine with. And one day I was off and I did watch all of the Lord of the Rings extended editions, which was a long time. But no, I don't actually own the other DVDs. So I don't think I'm up for doing that. That's a young person's game right there. With a very, very they could hold their bladder,
Yeah. Yeah. No, I haven't done that.
Well, no, I didn't mean, I'm sorry. I didn't mean watch them all without a break or without going to the bathroom. I just meant have you watched them all in a row.
When you say challenge, I'm gonna do it. I'm gonna go all out.
I remember seeing it in the theater, and then the movies that followed, and I think it's in the second one. I think that the key almost goes off the ledge, and the whole theater did the collective. And then Thorin stepped on the key and everything. So, yeah, I mean, I love it. And I think Peter Jackson did a really great job with it. So
Yeah. I think he was a master, you know. I actually haven't watched all these series actually. I got to I think the last one I watched was the Smog one.
okay.
And I haven't watched all of Battle of Five Armies because I you know, nothing. I do like this movie. I think this movie was good because it's the introduction, and you know, it's very interesting. I think Smog was pretty good too. I mean,
Mm-hmm.
I do prefer the scenes with Smog in the cartoon more. I think it was especially with Gollum. I think it was more effective too. Those scenes as well.
Yeah.
But by the time I got to Battle of Five Armies, I was a little tired. You know, I
They're
felt like
long.
I
Yeah.
I felt like that this didn't need to be as long because if you looked at the book compared to Lord of the Rings, the Hobbit books like this and the Lord of the Rings books like this,
Yeah.
I just felt like I knew what he was trying to do. I just think he was trying to make it as massive as Lord of the Rings. And I just didn't feel like it needed that
Well, initially,
for
from what I
this.
understand, I mean, he was just going to do The Hobbit in 2 movies, and the
Right.
studio is the one that came in and said, "No, give us a third."
All right. Well, Peter Jackson's not your fault. Peter Jackson is amazing anyway. I would never. Peter Jackson actually directed one of my favorite movies. It's a guilty pleasure, but it's called The Frighteners.
Oh, with Michael J. Fox.
Yes, I love that
Haven't
movie.
seen
I'm
that.
surprised it didn't make the list, but I was torn between that one and another one, so I went with the other one. But yeah, I love
That's
that
almost like
movie.
one of the forgotten kind of
It is. It's
90s genre
right.
movies.
I think has a cult following, which is
Yeah.
generally what I love those kind of movies. So yeah, so Peter Jackson, we love you. We want you to direct a Doctor Who episode, but I would have rather you done it with Peter Capaldi. But just saying, that's another
Yeah.
stream.
That'd be interesting. It'd be really
It
interesting.
would be well made, and I don't think the BBC wants that. So
Yeah.
it's people
Oh,
directed.
man.
Yeah,
So
BBC is not interested in well-made Doctor Who anymore.
no, they're not.
No.
They say they are, but yeah. If you ever get a chance, give it a watch. It's so enjoyable. I don't know. It's got Dee Wallace Stone is in it too. She's in it.
Frighteners. I got to write that down.
Yeah, great movie.
It's a ghost.
Great. It's a fun
ghost
show.
movie.
Yeah, but it's dark, but it also has a lot of comic relief.
Okay.
So I mean, like I said, if you like that in a serious show where they just kind of throw in some comic relief, but it's well done.
Okay.
Yeah, it's definitely worth watching. And Michael J. Fox is great in it. He really does a great job.
Cool.
So didn't mean to take over your. I just hear Peter Jackson, and that always comes to my mind. So, so 2 favorite scenes out of this.
Where they all the dwarves show up at Bilbo's house and eat him out of house and home, and they're sitting there doing their little blunt the knives, bend the forks.
Yeah.
'Cause my son Michael, he would always sing that, and he knew every single word. So,
oh, really?
Yeah. Gosh, a long time ago. I guess when he sees Rivendell for the first time, because it's like,
oh yeah,
you're going through these scraggly rocks, and then boom, there it is.
Wow, yeah.
I mean,
when you
paradise.
I would just love to just step into that world. Like if they ever had virtual reality, I think I would want like the Shire or what you just Rivendell. I think that's what I want to. That's where I'd want to go. I think that would be so cool just to like hang out and just sit there and just look at everything and look how beautiful it is,
Yeah.
And be immersed in it. I mean, nothing going on. It's like a place you go, like in Star Trek where you have the holodeck. But it'd be like my holodeck would be this world.
There's one other brief scene. It's when they meet up with Radagast the Brown, and they're fixing to run off, and Sylvester McCoy
reference right there.
Yeah, he did great in that. And then my youngest son, he was like, I don't know, 7, 8 at the time, and what kind of rabbits? Rustabel rabbits. So he remembers that even to this day. All I have to say is rabbits, and he'll
being
say
on
that.
a Doctor Who forum when The Hobbit came out.
Yeah.
And someone saying that they actually literally stood up in the theater and said, "That's Sylvester McCoy. That's the Doctor."
Good for them.
Yay. I would have loved to be in a theater when somebody did that. I've been like, yeah, that's right. He was the doctor for a long time.
Yep.
All right, so let me get the screen back up here so I can see it, and then we're going to go to we got some fast facts, and hopefully these are fast.
I was going to say fast facts about The Hobbit. There's probably like 600 of them.
No, actually, there's not. It took a while to compile these, believe it or not. Peter Jackson planned to make The Hobbit for The Lord of the Rings. The movie was filmed entirely in New Zealand, which we know. Many of the same locations used in the Lord of the Rings trilogy. The movie was the first theatrical movie to be shot and projected at 48 frames per second, twice as fast as the industry standard of 24 frames per second. I have no idea what that means.
I remember when the movie first came out, that made some people sick. I mean, that literally made some people nauseous to watch that in the theater because their eyes and their brains weren't used to processing. That was a thing when that movie was first released.
Wow.
Richard Armitage, he played the Dwarf King. Thorin Oakenshield is actually 6'2" in real life. They made him like look pretty small. The Dwarf Bomber, played by William Kircher, has the distinction of being the only character in the movie to never draw his weapon. The Hobbit and Unexpected Journeys is the first live-action film based on Tolkien's novel, a 1985 Russian movie titled The Fabulous Journey of Mr. Bilbo Baggins. The Hobbit was released. I've never heard of that.
Huh.
And I think that's all we're going to talk about, because the first one was just repeats of the other, what we just talked about. So no point in... AI does that sometimes. Like, I try to catch it, but it's like, wow, you just said that. You just reworded it in a different way.
But that's, that's the one big takeaway from today's stream is if anybody actually asks you on a trivia contest how many centimeters tall Richard Armitage is, now you know.
182.
He's 182.
Yeah. That's like I could see like somebody like Rain Man, doing that one. Because who would really just know that fact? I mean, why anyway?
That's right.
Okay, so the next one is Iron Man, the first one. The one that's actually good. The one that's actually I enjoyed.
Before the dark times.
Yeah. Well, I think we know what one's about too. I don't, I guess I thought I would be really slick and then just like, have this in here. I mean, it looks good, but I think we all know this movie, so.
One of the best gifts ever is him with the exploding thing behind him.
Yes.
Before I animated it actually was doing the thing it was doing, but whatever reason, when I put the animated on there, it stopped it. So you just have to imagine him lifting his arm and everything going boom.
That's right.
Yep.
And if you haven't seen it, I don't know where you've been in your life. I don't know what you're doing. Yeah. So.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That movie just, another genius, I mean.
Yeah.
I wish I had that kind of skill. Yeah. I'm attracted to arrogant geniuses. I can't help it. I don't know why.
Because they're awesome. That's
why. You got the doctor, you got Dr. McKay, you got Tony Stark. Raymond Reddington.
If a therapist was in here, I'm sure he would like, of all our choices, they're like, that's very interesting.
I mean,
psychiatrist,
Yeah.
And
really.
when I get to mine, there's a whole lot of in that. So they'll figure, they're like, okay.
But here's this playboy, and then he gets, shot, even though he was wearing the body armor and everything, and captured, and because his weapons were being used that, he didn't want them that way. And then he's in that cave building an Iron Man suit out of, stone knives and bear skins, sort of thing. I thought that was just great.
Oh, so long, Ian.
Yeah.
So long.
So.
And boy, I mean, you think about, who would have thought that when these movies were being conceived, that Robert Downey Jr. would be the one who would end up being the linchpin because of his brilliant acting of an entire franchise.
Yeah.
Not only the Iron Man movies, but in the Spider-Man movies and the Avengers movies. I mean, he is the core of that entire franchise.
Oh yeah, he is.
I can't see anybody else playing that role. I mean,
no,
you know,
I do think that as I think in this movie, they had the perfect mix of him being his sarcasm and just him being serious. And I think as it went on, I think they got away from him just being a genius, and he was just being a smart ass every 5 seconds, which kind of annoyed me because I really did think that was a, disservice to Robert Downey Jr.'s portrayal of this character. And it actually really, like, I remember seeing this with my son. He loved it, and it was just so good. And then just the other ones just seemed not a total disappointment, but didn't live up to this one at all.
Yeah.
That's why I like his appearances in the Spider-Man movies, because I mean, in all these movies, that to me is what humanized the characters, because he became the father figure for, that actor, and all the scenes with his relations with him were just fantastic.
Yeah.
So,
in Endgame, the scenes in Endgame with Spider-Man, I mean, Blubber City,
Oh yeah, and then the one scene in, what was the second one? No, Endgame was the last one, right?
Yeah.
So like when he comes off the ship, the first thing that he says after being lost in space, the first thing that he says to Captain Merrick, he goes, "I lost the kid," because that was the thing. That was the only thing that mattered to him.
Right. Yeah, the growth of his character throughout all of that series, is amazing. And then he eventually has a child of his own. So yeah.
And even the few scenes in that movie with his daughter were amazing. Were fantastic.
I did enjoy those scenes. Yeah, I think, but I think this movie right here, though, this is like Robert Downey Jr. at his finest playing Iron Man. I mean, it just the scenes where, he's in Afghanistan and he's stuck, and it's like he's got to use his brains to, make this work. He's, it's his life, and he creates this brilliant, he basically creates the superhero out of desperation.
And one of my favorite scenes is at the end where, they want him to keep it on the hush hush, and he goes, "The truth is, I am Iron Man." I mean, I love that.
Jeff Bridges is great in this movie.
Yeah,
too.
he is.
Yeah.
It really is. This is when the Marvel universe, this is the first movie out of the cinematic universe. This is when they were good. This is when it was actually good. Like, you wouldn't have to be a comic book fan. And I'm not totally, I mean, I like the characters. I grew up with a lot of the characters, but I'm not like huge comic book, I don't know a whole lot. But this is a movie that, like, the normal people can just go to the movies, be entertained. They don't know anything about the character, and this drew you in. This actually can make comic book fans.
Yeah.
Because when you do it like this draws people in and makes you want to collect the merchandise. It makes you want to, read the comics, and even if you haven't. So I think that they're on the wrong path. I think I don't know what they're doing now. I just know that this is what they need to go back to.
Yeah. I jumped off it. I've jumped off at Endgame. Haven't looked back.
Yeah, I have never read any of the comics, but I like Iron Man.
Yeah,
and
that's okay,
we should mention first appearance of Samuel Jackson in the post-credit scene.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
This is one of the best ones. It really is. I think after that, I think for me personally, I can't speak for anyone else. It just kind of fell off for me, and especially with Marvel. I was always more of a DC fan as far as the movies and stuff, but I kind of just like. But now DC's messed up too, so this is positive.
Well, that's why your favorite one is the first one before it all got bad. That's why this one's the comfort watch.
Yeah, I think I can't speak for her. I'm sure it is too. Obviously, she picked it. So
yeah, he edged out over Doctor Strange, another arrogant genius. I mean, so yeah.
And let me tell you something. You can't put AC/DC in a movie and it suck.
Right. Right.
Come on, you just can't. That's just like that gets you going. And then they knew what they're doing. Music's important, and I really appreciate that because I do like AC/DC. I
Me
mean,
too.
and it just gets you going. Okay, I take that back. They had Thunderstruck in the second movie, and the second movie wasn't that good, so I guess they can. So hopefully this will be faster facts. Nope. One of the other names Jon Favreau considered for Tony Stark was Sam Rockwell, who later played Justin Hammer in Iron Man 2.
Yeah,
Why would you change
he was
his
in the
name?
second one.
Why would you change to Sam Rockwell? Oh, okay. The actor. I'm like, okay. I was thinking he changed his name. Okay, Sam Rockwell. Like, first of all, no, we don't want Sam Rockwell.
No, that would have been
No. RDJ.
Yeah, totally. I was like, okay, wait. I read that wrong. Don Cheadle was considered for James Rhodes, but Terrence Howard got the part. However, Howard was replaced before Iron Man 2.
Right.
I think he said something that people didn't like. The character of Tony Stark was based on real-life millionaire Howard Hughes. The first Iron Man movie almost didn't make it to the theaters because the studio was concerned about Robert Downey Jr.'s past drug use. There are about 5 sets of armor in the film, all inspired by the Iron Man comics. The Mark I armor, I used to have that Funko. I don't have it anymore. Stark's first suit is a simple suit constructed of iron. The movie was directed by Jon Favreau, who also played the role of Happy Hogan.
Yep.
The film's budget was $140 million, and it grossed over $505 million worldwide. I think some of these facts you probably already know. Iron Man was the first seen in an issue of Tales of Suspense in 1963.
Issue number 39.
Well, see, they didn't say that. Iron Man was the beginning of what we know as the Marvel Cinematic Universe. Oh, they said that twice up there. They just reworded it. So that's all the facts we're going to talk about Iron Man. I think we can move on to Firefly. So you didn't see that coming, Gary, did you?
No, I didn't. I don't know what either of your picks are.
I know, and I think that's cool.
Yeah.
Because then you know, you probably know some of mine, Gary, because I'm pretty predictable. But I mean,
Firefly written by Joss Whedon, and one season,
Buffy, right?
Yep. He also wrote Buffy. One season, has a cult following. They had to tie up the way the series ended. They made the movie Serenity, and I love it. It's like a Western, but in space.
Mm-hmm.
And they had a war between the Independents and the Alliance, and of course the Independents, I guess, lost, if you want to say, and they're just doing what they got to do to survive. They take odd jobs.
Sounds like Blake 7 a little bit.
I still haven't seen that yet. Another thing
I don't know what Gary thinks. So to me, that it kind of sounds like
there's a lot of similarities.
Yeah. I
mean anti-heroes.
And I see it says shows blends elements from the space opera and Western genres.
Yeah. They commit crimes or do jobs to stay alive. They got to eat, and,
right?
They got to do what they can do to keep flying. And you got your the evil on there is the Reavers, and they take and they kill their prey, humans, and then they'll take their skin and sew it over their bodies and everything. It's really freaky looking. But, you find out that the Reavers were actually created by the government. Go figure. So, I mean, a lot of parallels.
Always involved.
Yeah. And, I mean, there's humor, there's seriousness in there. You got you have a preacher, you have a doctor, you have his sister who's a genius, but she's been experimented on by the government. You got the pilot, you got his wife, Jane, who's played by Adam Baldwin. I think he has to be my favorite character because he's this badass, He's a soldier.
Adam Baldwin is just a badass on Twitter anyway. I don't know if you follow him on
Twitter. And he was great in Chuck.
Yeah, well. I watched some of Chuck.
And if you like him, as an action hero, The Last Ship. He plays the XO in the last ship.
I just love Alan. I'm not going to say Alec Baldwin. Adam Baldwin, because
they're
he
not
is
related.
a staunch conservative.
Yeah,
Trump supporter.
my son, whenever he calls me, there's an episode in there called Janestown. They made this mud statue of Adam Baldwin, and they sing a song, Jane, the man they call Jane.
Yeah.
You know, he robs
That's
from
a good
the
one.
rich and he gave to the poor. So that's my son's ringtone whenever he calls me,
Oh,
because
wow.
he is just like Jane. So, I mean, I love the series.
Yeah, Fox did pretty much everything they could to sabotage this thing. I mean, they didn't even air the 2-hour pilot, which established all the characters, until as the final episode. So there was no context when they started for the audience to understand who these were. And they switched around the orders. I mean, if you watch the DVD set or Blu-ray set or however it is, that has the proper viewing order. But the way that it was when it originally aired, I mean, the audience, I mean, it gave them no chance. So, I mean, the one positive, I guess, out of all this is it made Fox gun shy about quickly canceling other genre shows, which I think is one of the reasons, for example, why Fringe managed to last 5 years, because by that point they were totally gun shy about the backblast of canceling stuff too early.
Grandma Miranda says some moved to Buffy and Angel.
Yeah, this show could have lasted 5, 6, 7 years easy.
Yeah, they keep talking about a reboot or a remake, and one of the main characters on there, though, he died in the show, and it's like, well, what are you going to do now? You know,
and they killed off another in the movie. So I don't. It was like lightning in a bottle. I don't think that a reboot. I
don't think science fiction was looked upon. What was when the show came out in 2002? I think it was science fiction was like, I don't know, seemed like a dirty word or something, because it seemed like a lot of these shows that were in this kind of theme was being canceled. I don't know.
I know in the movie, Summer Glau, who played River, man, there's a scene in there where she has to fight all these Reavers and bad guys. And I mean, she just, the door shuts.
In the movie?
Yeah. And she just totally kicks butt.
Well, that's why, like in the like the poster for the movie and in the promotion for the movie, she's like front and center.
Right. And she's back to normal because they took her to Miranda, that world. So yeah, it's an interesting storyline.
And that's an interesting. Archer Collin in the chat, I just saw that, I didn't know that, said, but it makes sense that Nathan Fillion, after Firefly got canceled, that's why he was given the role of the main season 7 villain, I guess, in Buffy, which was the Preacher.
Okay.
And he's the one that put Xander's eye out. But I guess that's because he was freed up after Firefly was canceled.
I haven't seen Buffy. I think I've seen maybe 1 or 2 episodes, but I haven't.
Really? Okay.
Yeah. So I'll have to.
But if you watch Buffy, you kind of got to watch Angel, which I prefer. But you kind of had to watch them because they were so intertwined.
Okay. Cool. I see we lost Blue Bonnet somewhere. I don't know if she was having technical difficulties.
Well, the thing is still up. Well, and the thing about Firefly, Firefly has continued on into, I know that, there've been like a series of original novels, and I know that they've continued through multiple comic book series, which apparently continued on after the series and maybe like a generation later. So, and I haven't read any of them, but I know that there's been, an extensive number of comic book series.
Yeah, I think I have one of the books called Big Damn Heroes. So yeah, it still has its, cult following. So yeah, I love it. I just identify with it so much, especially in these times.
Yeah.
So I had to step away for a minute. Did you give your favorite?
We actually staged a coup, Andy. We're changing the name of the show and the whole format, and we made a lot of changes while you were gone.
Right, I'm sure. I'm sure. Good luck. Good luck with that. So did you get to? I had to step away for a minute.
No,
Did
we
you
were
actually
just finishing.
talking about some of your favorite scenes, or?
Yeah, the scene in the Serenity movie where River just totally kicks butt. She just defends them all and keeps them all alive, and of course, like I said, Janestown, when they go to the planet and they sing that song, and Wash is like, can we go to my planet, and where they can sing a crappy song about me? So yeah. But
Correction, Archer Colin. Firefly Doctor Who connection, but also Firefly Doctor Who connection and Charmed, I believe. I think he was in Charmed and Dollhouse.
And actually, Mark Shepard's going to come up on one of my picks later on, too.
Wow. Because he's in one of mine, too.
Yes, love Mark Shepard.
Well, no, can't say two of mine, but yeah. Yeah. The other day I called him Mark David Chapman because because I was like,
Freudian slip.
Well, yeah, because considering what I'll be talking about. But no, it's like I'm getting my true crime and my fandom mixed up. It's it's crazy. But yeah, I thought that was really funny. But no, yeah, he's in. We have another connection for him too. And Mark Shepard. I mean, God, put him in a show, and I'm just like, I'm there.
Mm-hmm.
I love the guy. Okay, so what's our next one? Oh, do we need to do the facts, or we can just move on? I think. Let's go on. Let's move on. So let's get to Gary's picks.
Oh, this is now. I should say that I only have on my 5. I only have one genre show, and I focused mostly on TV. If I picked movies, there's a couple that definitely would have been in there, but I just stuck with TV shows,
that's
and
fine.
I mostly stuck with. Yeah, no, I know, but I mean, and I mostly stuck with. I realized that I stuck with shows that are pretty much episodic, because going by kind of what are the comfort things I could just grab and plop in any single episode, and just have it be kind of like self-contained, that I can get like a complete experience, and no matter how many times I view them, I can watch them over and over and over.
And you chose the 70s Doctor Who, which is just great.
I did, which for me is the golden age of Doctor Who. The 60s is good. I mean, I think that's kind of like the silver age, but to me, the 70s with John Pertwee and Tom Baker, and I said the 70s because I'm not counting Tom Baker's final season under John Nathan Turner, which was technically in 1980, because the tone and the style of that is so, to me, at odds with the rest of his era, that for me, kind of classic, the real golden age Doctor Who ends with Tom at the end of Tom Baker's next to last season. But yeah, I could watch any of these. John Pertwee was my first Doctor. I could watch any of them, over and over and over again. Even some of the longer, like the 6-part Pertwee stories, which get kind of knocked. I think, then watch them like episodically as they were meant to, and they won't be so bad.
I have a hard time finding a Pertwee story that is not watchable to me. So I find that strange. I mean, even like Planet of the Daleks, who I'm not like a huge fan of that, I could still watch it.
And because, like I said, to me, the 70s Doctor Who is the very definition of comfort food. I mean, you curl up with whatever hot beverage of your choice on a rainy afternoon or whatever, and there's nothing better on the planet than.
I tell you, there was literally nothing better. I mean, when BBC America did this, and I don't know why they stopped doing it, because it was great. It was like on Sunday mornings they would do a thing called Breakfast with Baker.
I remember that.
And I would get my coffee, and I would get my breakfast, and I would literally have breakfast or Baker. And I loved it because it was like a routine, and then they stopped doing it. Why? That's stupid.
And I'm so glad of these the pictures that you chose. Could you go back to the other screen, or are we just moving forward?
I don't know. Let me see.
Because here's the thing. That's all right. No, I don't want to mess you up. Because those were two of my favorite teams. The team of the the fourth Doctor, Sarah and Harry, is my favorite classic team of any of Doctor Who. I think the stories that the three of them did together, their chemistry was just off the charts, and all the stories were great. And of course, I love The Doctor with Joe. And you can go. I'm not sure. Oh, got fast
we don't.
for.
Yeah, we don't need. Yeah, it's very little.
No, but I'm curious as to which facts that you.
In the late 1970s, there was plans for Doctor Who animated series, but it never came to fruition. I tried to choose ones we may not know.
Yeah.
The third Doctor, played by John Pertwee, was the first to be exiled to Earth. Okay, we knew that. The Master of the Dark, our nemesis, was played by different actors in the 70s. We knew that. The third, I mean, a lot of this is like, it's not really. But she was, I didn't know this actually. The third Doctor's companion, Joe Grant, was played by Katie Manning, which I knew that. Mm-hmm. He was originally hired for a one-off role in the 1971 Terror of the Autons. 1979 story City of Death was co-written by Douglas Adams, who would later become famous for the Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy series. Yeah. And obviously we knew of the last one.
And obviously, I want to say about the Master one. Of course, Delgado, there will never be any Master ever in the history of anything that's better than Roger Delgado. But Peter Pratt, who played the Decayed Master in Deadly Assassin, I thought that was amazing because that was a terrifying Master with the makeup.
It really was.
You know, you can see every movement was painful to him. I thought, oh, man, that was just great.
Yeah, but you know how I feel about the 70s Doctor Who. I mean, like I said, I have a hard time finding any Pertwee episode that I just can't find, you know, even Curse of Peladon, which is not my favorite, and Planet of the Daleks, which is also not my favorite, but there's so many good ones. So
I have, the couple that, because you said pick a couple, which is hard. I mean, it's like, are you kidding me to narrow it down to one or two?
I make it hard.
I will actually say my all-time favorite Doctor Who story, old or new period, is in this period, and it's Inferno. That is always remain my all-time favorite Doctor Who story. New Who or Old Who, where he goes to the parallel universe with kind of fascist counterparts of his friends. And Inferno is a project which is drilling into the earth, which is basically, you know, kind of, you know, on a pathway to destruction. The Doctor gets shunted to a parallel universe where the drilling is a little bit more advanced, and so the drilling happens there, and then it's basically Armageddon. You basically see Armageddon on a 1970s BBC budget, and it's amazing. And the Doctor's basically got to try to figure out a way to get back to his actual universe in order to stop the same thing happening there. And it's 7 parts, and it doesn't slow down for a second. It's amazing.
No,
and then for Tom Baker, I just picked 2, of course, you know, Genesis of the Daleks, because it's a Dr. Sarah Harry one. And then also and then Seeds of Doom, which is maybe my favorite Tom Baker story, tied with Horror of Fang Rock, which is the Doctor and Leela trapped in a lighthouse, which is just great. But I mean, Andy, you know this. We could sit here and name 24.
Oh my God, we could just like forget the rest of the stream and then get sucked into this. So I know
to me, it's like 70s Doctor Who will never be matched.
No, it won't. By anything, really.
Yeah.
In my opinion.
Yeah.
From the 70s. It's perfect in every way. And I think part of that is because the actors that they got to play, of course the writing too, but the 2 actors that knew exactly how to play the Doctor and how to command a scene when they walked in the room. I mean, John Pertwee walks in the room, you forget everybody else is in the scene because he owns it. So same with Tom Baker. He comes in, you know, and doctors that don't do that, why are you watching the show? Because there's no point of Doctor Who if the Doctor isn't commanding every scene and making you forget about whoever is in that room.
And of course, a lot of the situations were absurd. I mean, come on. But the fact that everybody played it absolutely straight, I mean, made the audience take it seriously too. And as much as for the phony argument that I hate about, well, there was wobbly sets, but you know what? That actually made the writing and the acting made up for the, you know, lower budget. And the fact, to me, I think made it better because now with everything, you know, with all the CGI and stuff, the audience doesn't have to do any thinking. All the effects and everything are basically handed to us. All we need to do is sit in a chair and be a sponge and soak it up without really any kind of thought. But watching like classic Doctor Who, the audience basically had to be engaged and kind of meet the limitations of the production halfway in order to kind of make up in our own imagination what they couldn't do like on screen. And basically that engaged you more in the show. That's why I will always love classic Who more.
And you had to pay attention more. You really do. You have to sit there. You can't like walk away because the stories were deep. And New Who is kind of like, okay. And this is 70s Who is like Tolkien. It's, you know, Lord of the Rings stop. You know, you gotta concentrate. You gotta pay attention because you'll miss it. You'll miss whatever's going on in the scene. And New Who is like Stephen King. It's kind of like it's good, but it's an easy read. Most of it.
Yeah.
Predictable.
Very.
Yeah.
Which is not, of course,
not a bad thing.
Which is not to dismiss, you know, the accomplishments of actors like, you know, Capaldi or Eccleston or whoever. But it's like you don't have to.
Thank you very much.
I mean, we're just kind of spoon fed everything, and we're like, oh, okay, that's kind of cool.
And here's the thing, and this will play into one of mine. And when people like when they do kind of give someone like complicated, they complain in New Who. I've noticed that. Did you not watch Classic Who? What? You can't pay attention to the episode? You don't understand Heaven Sent? You didn't pay attention? Yeah. You know, I mean, you know what I mean? Like, I love those. That's why I did like that Capaldi era, because some of them were a little bit more than just, I don't know, Rose and Tennant run around the universe, and, you know, it's just action packed, and it's just, I like listen because, and I'll get into that because
the other thing I want to say before we move off this one is that one of the reasons why I love Classic Who, but especially Pertwee and Baker, is that for the longer stories, when you have like a you know, like say, like for example, like a 6 or 7 part, you know, story from either Doctor or even some of the 4-part ones, the cast of supporting characters who you kind of get to know over the course of those longer stories. So you're invested in more than just the Doctor and the companion. Basically, a lot of those supporting characters have arcs as well.
Right.
Like in the Silurians, all the people at the research station, as the plague starts, and you have different levels of Silurians who are working against each other, and there's power moves going on, you know, with the humans. And in Inferno, you have the story with, you know, Greg and Petra, that kind of like little love story going on in the background. All of that kind of engages you more and makes the stories feel more kind of like epic than either the main plot, you know, would make you think. Whereas in New Who, the stories are 45 minutes. You have room for the Doctor and the companion and maybe one strong supporting character, but it all has to stay focused on them. You've got to have the development of the problem and the climax of the problem, and serve all the characters in 45 minutes, and then you're out, and then it's on to the next story. You don't have any room for those kind of long involved stories that the classic series really, that was its strength. And so that's why I prefer the kind of, you can immerse yourself more in the classic stories than you can in New Who, in my opinion.
And I believe Allison Stevenson made a comment, agree with Retro Doc. We can't see anything on the screen, which is more scary than the images we can create in our own imagination.
Absolutely, Allison.
Yeah. So we could be here all day talking about classic Doctor Who, and that would be like great. But that's not what we're here for.
Yes.
But we will have more Doctor Who a little bit.
Yes.
Different, but more Doctor Who. So let's move on to the and you know that your cat agrees.
Yes.
Yes. She's screaming for olives, so she's getting her olives.
Oh, okay. That's
my 17, 18-year-old cat. So yeah.
Wow.
I'll go faster on my next ones.
No, it's fine.
No.
Here we go. I wish I'd give anything if Ian the Mega Geek was still around. Didn't have to go because I know that he has a deep love for Columbo as well. I adore Columbo. It's one of those ones you can pop on literally any episode and just be immersed, because you think, okay, well, it's a formula show, but it's not, because the interactions with all of the murderers are different every time. Columbo, I mean, the winner of many well-deserved Emmys by Peter Falk for his play of the character. It's not a whodunit. It's a how's he going to catch him, and where you're presented with the perfect murder at the beginning, and Columbo comes in and notices like the one little thing which you just can't let go of, which then will lead him to eventually nail the villain. And they had so many great villains. Robert Culp and Jack Cassidy. You had Patrick McGowan, who of course we all know is the prisoner, was in several great ones. And it's just like one of the all-time perfect television shows. Go ahead if you want to go ahead with this description.
Columbo was a TV show that premiered in 1971 and starred Peter Falk as a titular character, a rumpled and eccentric LAPD homicide detective named Lieutenant Columbo. The show was known for its unique twist on the whodunit formula, as the audience would already know who the killer was and would watch Columbo use his skills to solve the case. The show has a dedicated fan base and has been praised for its influence on the entertainment industry. You can find a list of the episode. Okay, blah, blah, blah. We know that.
Or even with books about the whole series. Like there have been several of these, which are great kind of guides for as you kind of rewatch.
That's very interesting, because I never really watched the show, but I didn't realize that you actually know who the killer was at the beginning.
Oh, every episode starts with Columbo never comes in until about 15 or 20 minutes into the episode, where the planning and the execution of the murder has already happened, and then there's always a commercial break, and then the next scene it cuts to the police there, and Columbo's been called, or he kind of wanders in. Yeah, Columbo. There's one episode where he's already there early, where the villain is a political. It's called Candidate for Crime. That's the only episode. That's the only story where Columbo shows up earlier than like the 15-20 minute mark.
Okay.
Well, I got a question for you. Was his character OCD by chance? No, because
Monk was.
Yeah,
that's what you're thinking.
Monk was.
Yeah, well, because he reminds me of Monk, and Monk being OCD, that what led him to being
Monk was OCD.
Good.
Columbo's superpower,
okay,
was his observational ability. He always can look down and spot something which to every other cop and ME and whoever in the room has glossed over. But something about it attracts him and goes, wait a minute. You can see the wheels turning. Goes, wait a minute. That shouldn't be there, or that's out of place, or why is that there, or isn't that off, or whatever. And he, usually takes it with him or whatever, but it's the one little thing that sticks in his mind that he's got to reconcile, because to him, every little bit of everything has to reconcile. And if it doesn't, then it's not over yet. Okay. But I mean, I can see why you'd think that. But no, Monk is definitely the OCD.
Okay.
Yeah, it sounds really interesting, the fact that it switched. I think that kind of would be a good, if you wanted to get someone to watch the show, that's kind of a different thing, because usually it's like you don't know who the murderer is, and you find out at the end with the detective.
There's one episode of the show which more can be classed as a whodunit. Everything else is you kind of know ahead of time. And it always, he always pitted this, the everyman here, the schlumpy guy with his raincoat, against all the villains were either like, high class, high society, entitled, rich, privileged, whatever, who think that this guy, that there's no way that this kind of schlubby guy is going to be able to get them.
Right.
And the way that Columbo is like a tick that just kind of burrs and gets under their skin with his questions and his prodding, to where finally it's like, they realize they just stand no chance against this guy.
Yeah.
Okay.
So my couple of favorite episodes of many, my very favorite episode is called Troubled Waters, which is where he is on a cruise ship with his wife, who we never ever see during the course of the series. And Robert Vaughn is the killer. So Columbo's got to make do of how to catch this guy where he doesn't have access to any police resources, any police labs, anything of anything, while he's just on this cruise ship. So that's my favorite episode.
Okay. I mean, like I said, it, you know, I didn't know that it switched, and that to me is it's a good, you know, that can get people to watch, because that's very different. And it says here Columbo's first name is never revealed.
It's not.
Which is very interesting. The role of Columbo was almost played by a crooner instead of Peter Falk. Would have been nice to know which crooner that was.
Well, that was Bing Crosby. Actually, for
okay.
the very first Columbo TV movie in 1968, which was a one-off, not connected. I mean, it was 3 years until they did another pilot movie, and then but they offered it to Bing Crosby, but the reason he didn't take it, he thought it would interfere with his golf time.
Oh, good Lord.
He wanted to spend more time golfing than acting.
But really, I mean, could you see him playing it? Probably not.
Yeah.
The show had a total of 69 episodes over 35 years, from 1968 to 2003.
Well, the first classic series in the 70s was 45 episodes, and then it was brought back as a revival series in 1989, and there was an additional like 24 TV movies. Mostly they just weren't as good. I mean, Falk was still good, but a lot of the magic had gone. There's maybe 3 or 4 episodes which were as good as the original series, but it wasn't really that strong.
Columbo had a spin-off series called Mrs. Columbo, but it was not successful.
That's actually not. That was something by the TV network after Columbo had left the air, but they still wanted to hold on to it. But Falk was never a part of it. Everybody kind of immediately disowned it, and even they changed the name of the show and the character like 5 episodes in, I think, to Callahan or something, where they just realized that this obvious kind of grab wasn't, and it wasn't done by anybody involved with the original Columbo series. It was just by, you know, the hack studio execs who tried to keep the Columbo thing going. But everybody considers that as the, you know.
Actress Kate Mulgrew, who played Captain Janeway on Star Trek Voyager, appeared in several small roles on Columbo before been given larger roles.
Actually, no, that's kind of, I hate to
Later
kind
on.
of actually, no, she actually played Mrs. Columbo. Not in the series, she played in the spin-off show, Mrs. Columbo.
Well, that's
which
interesting.
I said went through.
Wow.
But here's the thing. And one of the arguments for why that show is not Columbo canon and has been disregarded is at the time that show was made in Mrs. Columbo in 1979, Kate Mulgrew was only 24.
Yeah,
so people are going, there's no way that Peter Falk is playing Columbo would have had a wife. His
maybe
whole life
so,
is only 24
you know?
years
I mean,
old.
maybe he got it going on. I don't know. I don't know. Yeah, it's kind of crazy though. Yeah,
it was crazy.
Okay, so let's go to the next one.
Yes.
Which is Leverage.
Love Leverage, which the last couple of years has had a spin-off series called Leverage Redemption. But I'll let you go ahead.
Oh, really?
And read it.
Have you started watching that?
It's good.
Okay. I don't know anything about this show other than what I've read here.
Well, go ahead.
Leverage is an American action crime dramas television series that aired on TNT from 2008 to 2012. The show follows a team of 5 people, including a thief, a grifter, a hacker, and a retrieval specialist, led by former insurance investigator Nathan Ford. I'm assuming he's played by, Timothy Hutton.
Timothy Hutton, yep.
They work together to act as modern-day Robin Hoods, using their skills to take down corrupt individuals and organizations. In 2021, a revival of the show titled Leverage Redemption was released, which you just said, featuring the original cast and new characters. The show has been praised for its character-driven storylines and strong performances.
This is a great show because this is my wish fulfillment entry in my comfort food, because the show is about Nathan Ford, who was a former insurance investigator. His young son had died because the insurance company that he worked for would not provide the medical coverage to save his life. And so he was kind of a burnout at that point. And he becomes the leader of the group of the other characters you see who are either computer experts or grifters, and who then create these. And so because of his former job, he was already familiar with all of them. They know him, and it's kind of like if you ever saw that British show Hustle about the con artists,
no.
or like The Sting, where these are characters who create these elaborate cons to take down, on behalf of, the Joe average citizens who come to them because they've been swindled or cheated by, the corrupt businessman or corporations or the government or whatever. And they basically create these elaborate cons, basically to take these people down. And with everything going on now, it's great to be able to sit down and watch a show where everybody you would love to see taken down actually gets taken down.
Right. Not like our own, what we're dealing with now, right?
That's like I said, this is my wish fulfillment entry, because there's just something so satisfying about watching shows where people who really need to get got by these people.
I have a question for you. Is there any Hillary Clinton lookalikes or Joe Biden lookalikes, or then I might be able to get into it, his name is
you mean as
Biden or something.
Well, okay, not lookalikes, but character parallels. Yeah. So there's always people who kind of parallel those people, and they always get taken down. As thank you, Maggie. Yes, Leverage. It has great writing. It's not serialized. There are some overall kind of like character arcs, but except for maybe a couple of two-parters, everything is kind of like self-contained, where they learn about from the person that comes to them what the problem is. They decide how they're going to take them down, and then the rest of it is you see the execution of the con. And even if it goes wrong, they've got to adapt on the fly and still make it happen. But every episode is kind of self-contained, so there's not a lot of kind of serialization to deal with, which makes it great for the kind of binge watch. Not binge watching, but the kind of one-off comfort watching that we're talking about.
Right. Because it's hard to get in the middle of something. It's like, well, I don't know what's going on. So I get why you chose episodic, because I think that just like Star Trek TOS that Windology mentioned earlier. That's also good comfort watching, because you can just put one episode on. It doesn't matter which one it is, and you're good to go.
And they brought it back a couple years ago, Leverage Redemption, without Timothy Hutton's character, but with all the other ones, and along with a couple of new characters. Noah Wiley actually kind of has taken over, one of the main roles, and it's good. There's a revival series. It's kind of different, but it's still really strong.
So, the show used unorthodox methods to hide actress. Who cares? Her better pregnancy.
But they brought in because of that. They brought in Jerry Ryan for a huge run of episodes to kind of take her place, and she was
7 to 9.
Okay.
Actor Noah Wiley, who previously starred in The Librarians, appears in 2021 revival of Leverage, which is the one you're talking about, the Redemption. Actor Christian Kane's injury in the episode "The Stork Job" was real and a result of him falling on asphalt while playing basketball the night before filming.
He's the character that beats everybody up.
Oh, well, there you go. That's what happens when you beat everybody up. The show's central premise of a team of semi-reformed criminals helping exploited people was inspired by the financial crisis of the late 2000s. The show's main characters include a grifter, hacker. Okay, we already knew that.
And the 2020s. We can add the late 2000s and
the
2020s too.
The concept of the show originated 28 years prior, and the premise for an episode of Charlie's Angels.
Didn't know that.
I love AI, because you really get and this is Perplexity AI is the best one to get, because they fact check them. That's what they have articles, the numbers underneath. So when you go in and you look something up, you can actually fact check it. The show's central premise of a team of semi-reformed criminals taking down white-collar criminals was practically satisfying to watch during the financial crisis. Surprised AI came up with that. They actually probably just get opinions. Yeah.
It
The
is so
show's
true.
revival leverage redemption was confirmed in June 2020 interview of executive producer.
And there's the Stargate tie-in, because Dean Devlin, who created and executive produced this show, was the guy who did Stargate.
Okay.
The original movie. And the Mark Shepard tie-in, he is a recurring character who is Timothy Hutton's nemesis, who used to work with him at the insurance agency. And so he's the kind of guy who's always on their trail to try to trip them up. And so Mark Shepard, I think, appears in maybe like 9 or 10 episodes throughout the course of
that's pretty good.
series.
I mean, that's a pretty good story, recurring. Okay, so let's get to your next one, which is Mission Impossible.
Yeah,
and I couldn't find any images from the 80s, which I did watch.
No, that's okay.
I tried.
No, that's okay. So Mission Impossible, everybody go ahead with the
Mission Impossible is a multimedia franchise based on a fictional secret espionage. Oh yeah, we know it's fictional. Yes. Agency known as the Impossible Missions Force, IMF. The original TV series aired from CBS to 1966 to 1973. I need some water. And was revived in 1988 for 2 seasons on ABC. It follows the missions of a team of secret American government agents who carry out highly sensitive missions subject to official denial in the event of failure, death, or capture. And we all know they had movies with Tom Cruise.
Yeah, the movies, of course, have the same name and roughly the same kind of vague overall setup, but it's 2 entirely different animals. I adore the movies. I think the movie series is the best action franchise going right now. But for the TV show, clearly, and it was not contrast to Leverage, which is as much about the development of the characters, and you grow to love the characters, in addition to the cons they're doing. Mission Impossible is really all about the mission. I mean, a lot of the characters really are their functions. You don't really learn about their histories. You don't learn about, there's not a lot of joking and camaraderie. They're all basically, functions in the overall mission that they're doing. So in that sense, Mission Impossible is a little bit drier, if you know what I mean, than Leverage, because it's all about basically the plot and not about characters. Of course, and it started out with, the original team had Barbara Bain and Martin Landau in it, and the teams rotated. Yeah. You can tell for a couple seasons after they left, Leonard Nimoy, who's in the picture here, right after he got off of Star Trek, was on the show for 2 years. And it was really all about, of course, the theme song is kind of immortal. It was all about basically they get the mission, in the next scene, they've already decided what they're going to do, and they're already kind of setting out to kind of go to the foreign country or the business or whatever, and, complete their mission of either taking down a corrupt government or somebody that was about to become corrupt or save somebody or whatever. And in that sense, for episodic, this is perfect because you can watch these episodes in any order with any team, just pop it on since it's all about the plot anyway. You don't even really have to know anything. You can pop in an episode from any season and just go. And it's great. Peter Graves was great. Peter Graves and the 3.
Peter Graves, Don't Call Me Shirley. No, that was the other.
No, Peter Graves, which is have you ever seen A Grown Man Naked, Peter?
That's okay. Yes. I got it switched.
And I really hope that people know what we're talking about because they're going, what are they talking about now?
Airplane.
But Peter Graves actually was on the entire original series, other than the first season, where they had a different leader who left after the first season. They brought Peter Graves in. The 80s series, which was on for 2 seasons, actually came about as a result of the writer's strike, just like we're in now. And at first they reused and updated a lot of scripts from the classic series and then started writing new ones. And actually it wasn't until the new series, which ran for 2 seasons, that you really saw that line about, they deny in the case of event, death, or capture, because one of the persons on the original team gets killed in the course of the mission and then asked to be replaced by somebody new.
Yeah.
But it wasn't until this that you actually saw that happen.
I remember that vaguely because I remember
Yeah.
watching that, the 80s one. And I didn't really watch the older one, but I did watch the 80s one a little bit.
Yeah.
And I do remember them doing that. So that's
Yeah.
odd. I totally
So
forgot.
I love Mission Impossible. It's great. Like I said, it's great just like one-off viewing. If you're just gonna pop it in,
and sometimes
watch
sometimes you just want that. And like you don't always want to just like, you have to watch the whole season to get like, your fill.
Yeah.
Especially, once you're watching it for the first time, you want to watch all of them in order, but that's how I am. And then once that happens, you can just like, oh, okay, I'm in the mood for this one. So you can I do that with the Wild Wild West all the time.
Yeah.
Which
just was under my top 5, and I just didn't put it on because I haven't watched it in so long. That's the only reason why Wild Wild West didn't make my list.
Oh, well, it does. Well, it's also on another list.
Yeah,
it's mine too. So that's why this is not on this one either.
I haven't seen that in a long time either.
Yeah, great show.
It is.
The show has some ties to the Star Trek franchises. Both series began in 1966, and obviously that
Well, they were both produced by. They were both.
Leonard Nimoy was in it.
They were both produced by Desilu. They were both filming on the Desilu lot at the same time.
Yeah, it did say that each episode of the show was costing Desilu at least $185,000 to produce, which was a lot of money back then. The show began in 1966 and ran until 1973. The Mission Impossible franchise has some ties to another. Okay, we knew that. They just repeated that. The show was repeated as a movie in the mid-90s, which was the first project for Tom Cruise. Stephen Hill, who played Don Briggs in the first season, left the show due to his unwillingness to abide by the production schedule that would have conflicted with his Orthodox Jewish beliefs. The show has some. Okay, I read that.
Yeah.
Okay, pretty much. Okay, the first 1996 film adaptation of the show featured John Voight taking over the role of IMF boss Jim Phelps. The Phelps of the TV show is played by Peter Graves.
Over.
Yeah. So I think is this your last one?
Yeah, this is my last one.
Okay.
So this is my only current one, Death in Paradise. I mean, I love it to bits. I've been watching it since the second season. And you have the British out of place detective going and having to serve on the Caribbean island, and it's self-contained whodunits, the murder, and every episode ends like an Agatha Christie one where he gathers all the suspects together and walks them through and reveals who was the killer.
And Julie's going to be very upset that she missed this part. She'll have to go back.
Well, she'll be able to. She'll watch this on
fan.
She'll watch.
Yeah,
she'll
rewatch it.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It even has a just recently a spin-off, which is Beyond Paradise, that just finished its first season.
I've heard that they're doing that. I have not watched the show.
Me neither. I haven't even heard of it.
So your job, Gary, is to sell this show to me and Michelle here.
Yeah.
Okay.
To get us to watch.
If you like British mysteries, because this is a British mystery, even though it takes place in the Caribbean, because the main detective is always a British detective. If you like British mysteries, if you like whodunits, well-crafted whodunits, which are always seem like impossible crimes, like locked room mysteries, or how did this person get killed on this boat which was floating out in the ocean when there was literally nobody else around, and we can prove it.
See, that right there is interesting to me, because I want to see how did that pan out? Like, how did they figure that out? So that's a good way to get people sucked into something.
Yeah. I mean, the very first episode is somebody who was locked in, who everybody saw go into like a safe room that, when they managed to break in and get it out, he's lying there dead. It's like nobody else got in. How did that happen?
Right.
So a lot of them are impossible, mysteries where either every suspect had an ironclad alibi or everything. So the mysteries themselves are very, very well crafted. Danny John Jules, if you're a fan of him from Red Dwarf, he is one of the he is one of the officers on the team for like the first 8 seasons. And if you like constantly new people, there's always a rotating cast. Somebody's always leaving or coming or whatever. So there's a constant run of different configurations of people on the team. So it always, gives you kind of a fresh feeling. It always kind of renews every so often. Ben Miller, who's there on the right, he was only on for the first 2 seasons. My favorite of all the 4 serving detectives so far actually is in this picture, Ardal O'Hanlon, who's in the pink shirt.
Okay.
He was all, you might remember him from Father Ted.
Yeah.
And so there's like different eras of the show. Chris Marshall, it was Ben Miller, then Chris Marshall.
You're gonna have to sell me on the Chris Marshall thing, because I was never like, I think because I remember, and this is unfair to him as an actor, I'm sure, but I always remember him from the annoying character in Love Actually. So
yes, so Chris Marshall, actually, of the 4 of the detectives so far, he is kind of like I like them all, but he is my lowest of the 4.
Okay.
But he's basically somebody who is seemingly kind of like absent-minded, writes all of his notes and stuff on like Post-it notes, which is wired in his pocket and stuff. And you think, how is this guy ever going to figure out anything?
Right.
But he ends up being kind of a brilliant detective. And I think you're right. I think that if you don't like the actor's style, for any of the main actors, if you just don't like the actor's style, you may have a hard time.
Now, can you? Obviously, this is episodic as well.
Yeah.
You could basically just start. If you didn't like Chris Marshall, you could go to the next one.
Yeah, there's always a handoff. Like Chris Marshall and his team went to London for a 2-part episode during his 4th season in, where they ended up meeting Ardal O'Hanlon's character, and then Chris Marshall decided he wanted to stay with the woman that he'd fallen in love with. And so it was a transition. One leaves, the other one comes. So there's always these transitions from time to time.
Okay.
And
that sounds interesting, like these impossible, things to solve.
If you like impossible mysteries, if you like impossible kind of Agatha Christie-esque mysteries, especially where they do gather in all the, just like at the end of like the Agatha Christie movies, you gather all the suspects together and then you walk everybody through and then finally reveal, this is the killer. If you like that kind of structure and that format, then you will like this show.
Well, I'm not big on murder mysteries, shockingly, because I read a lot of true crime. You think that would be so it has to be something that's different. And so that sounds different. So I may give it a
I think if you like, okay, here's the last thing I'll say about this. If you enjoy, whether in watching TV or reading, the mental gymnastics of playing along and trying to figure it out, as well as the people at the same time the people are on screen are doing it, you go, wait a minute, that doesn't make sense. So if you're in your mind, your own little detective, and you're trying to put the pieces together at the same time the characters are, and you're trying to figure it out as well, and then at the end seeing if what you came up with matches who the actual killer was, and you enjoy working through those kind of like intellectual games, you will like this.
Okay. I would like that better than in trying to make sense of a cryptid teaser trailer, for sure.
No, and you know what? If you've never seen it, it's currently filming its 13th season.
Okay.
Wow.
And it's already, and the spinoff is about to start filming its second season.
But you had me until you said 13 seasons. How many episodes in those 13? It's not like a 21, 25, because I can't do that
America
again.
and the world. This is coming from a woman who watched how many seasons of Supernatural, even though she said it sucked after the 5th season, I stayed on with the remaining 13. You have no basis on saying what you just said.
And you also didn't mention
all.
Dark Shadows either. I noticed you didn't. I thought you were going to go for the Dark Shadows. That would have been the easier kill.
Well, Dark Shadows, I think that, that's 1,200 episodes.
Right.
But the fact that, I mean, don't give me
I'm
this.
tired, Gary.
Don't give me this
I'm
13
tired.
seasons. Don't give me this 13 seasons is too long when all I can do is watch Supernatural.
I'm doing a rewatch of Supernatural right now. So
There you
have
go.
a point.
Thank you for making my point for me.
Okay. The show originally had a different theme tune in France. Season 5 as the show was commissioned in February 2015 and first aired from January 2016.
That's a weird fact.
Yeah. Okay. Death in Paradise had been on for 8 seasons so far and usually airs in February. It's so weird.
That's an old one.
Harry the Lizard, who appears in the show, may be immortal. I don't know what that means.
It's a little CGI lizard that's always there in the little shack that the detectives stay
I see. Okay. The 5th season, the show was commissioned in February 2015 and first aired from 7. Okay, why do they keep doing these? I don't with the dates. Death in Paradise is set in the fictional island of Saint Marie, which is supposed to be loosely based on the French government. I'm not saying that. Yeah, I think I'm just my eyes.
It's a Caribbean island, but it's still technically under. British domain, which is why the lead detective has to be a Brit.
AI failed with these facts. I don't know. Death in Paradise is not related to 50 creepy, strange, and gross facts about death.
That's okay.
Okay.
All right.
Oh, well, this is fun. Fun with AI. You never know. I mean, they were pretty good.
But here's the thing: it's 13. In opposition to Dark Shadows or Supernatural, which are both heavily serialized. Obviously, one of them's a soap opera. This is one that, even though it's been on 13 seasons, it's still actually the 100th episode is not going to be until the first episode.
Like 8 episodes.
Every 8 episodes a season. The 100th episode will be right after this Christmas special.
That's doable.
You can pick any episode from any era of the show, and they're all standalones. Just,
I like that. All right. So now to mine, which are totally predictable. Well, at least 3 of them are totally predictable.
I hope none of them have lasted more than 13 seasons, Andy.
Well, yeah, they have.
Hey, it could be worse. It could be Law and Order.
Oh God, I know. I'm not into that at all. So that
or NCIS, or
Oh, God.
I like the original NCIS actually, not the spin-offs. Oh no, I like New Orleans with Bacula.
So
Bacula sounds like Dracula.
Yes.
Anyway, it's something the way you said it reminds me of Dracula. Okay, so this is a real predictable one. You see this coming, I'm sure.
Yay.
I'm sure. But this is a certain era. It's not all of Doctor Who, not all of New Who. But I chose the Peter Capaldi one because every time that I feel bad or I'm having a bad day, I could come home and watch any of the episodes. And I mean any of them. Only because Peter Capaldi just elevated everything he did with Doctor Who. Everything. So I could even watch, Sleep No More and get something out of it because it's Peter Capaldi. So obviously we know we don't really need any of this. I don't know why I even took the time.
What's your favorite Capaldi?
What's my favorite Capaldi episode? I have a couple. The first one would be Deep Breath. I probably watched that more than any of them. Because it just, the excitement was there. It was because we didn't know what to expect. And it was a good, it showed how the Doctor started out from one way in the beginning of the episode to a completely different Doctor by the end, which Jodie Whittaker didn't do that at all. And it was very quickly, it was like, you get this, he's out of sorts Doctor to this, I'm the most important man in the room by the end of the episode. And the fact that that and Heaven Sent would be my second one because Deep Breath and to me ties into that because it shows how he was basically did everything to help Clara, but he had changed so much by Heaven Sent. And was a completely different doctor because he just left her there, and she thought he actually left her there. And he comes in with basically like this Texas Chainsaw skin mask coming in there, and she's like, "Please be there." And it's like it was so epic, and it was like, to me, that was the beginning of me being very excited about Doctor Who. Based on the scene from the music with Murray Gold and just the whole thing, and then the end where he's just like, you don't know if he either killed him or he pushed him out. And I still think that's so fascinating how he pulled that off, the way he was standing at the door, and just like the way that he looked with his eyes. It was like, yes, give me more.
Powerful.
I want more of this.
Yes, powerful.
And Heaven Sent, because it really showed it was about grief. It was about grief and anger about what happened to Clara, and him feeling angry at his own people, and just, working through all this mess. And it was just, it was very cathartic. And I just loved the way it flowed, and the way you figured out along with him what was going on. And that was interesting. And now he held all of that. To me, those are the two best for me. I mean, I would have said The Doctor Falls, but that's just so sad because, of the way it ended, with him regenerating, and then they went to Twice Upon a Time, and it was just, I wish they would have just left it there, but they didn't. And I just, anytime, like, I literally, and this is not at my new job, so I don't want to, like, anyone watching this for my new job, haven't done this yet. But my old job, if I was having a bad day at work and things were just like, and I was becoming agitated, or just it was over the level of what I could handle as far as my anxiety, I would literally tell my boss, I'm sick, I'm going to the doctor, and I will be back tomorrow. Well, my terms of going to the doctor was not the doctor. I would go home and I would watch a Capaldi episode. And if anyone tells you that's not like being healthy is help mentally, then they're wrong.
I mean, you weren't lying. You were going to the doctor.
Yeah, I was going to see the doctor, just not the doctor they expected. Just the original, you might say.
I think it's brilliant.
Yeah, because I'm not lying.
No.
And it helped me because I was having such a hard time at my job, at my old job, that it was taking care of myself, taking care of mental health. And Peter Capaldi got me through a very, very bad time. I was very sick when he aired. I was very highly anemic. I didn't know it, and I almost died. And
gosh,
when you're anemic, I don't know if you know, you get very depressed, and you have very, very suicidal thoughts. And the only reason why I didn't just end it, I mean, other than my family, of course, that wouldn't have, but you have these really deep, dark thoughts, is thinking, well, Doctor Who's coming on Saturday. You'll miss that.
Mm-hmm.
And so,
I mean, you've couched all these shows today as, comfort watches, which they all are. But
yeah.
I think for all of us, all of our picks are, therapeutic for each of us
they
in
are.
one way or another.
They are, because, and especially Peter Capaldi's hair for me is like, man, it means so much more. And I think that's why when they did him so dirty, that's why I'm so like, I think that's why I lose it when people tell me, well, he was let down by bad writing. Well, not to me, he wasn't. To me, he wasn't. To me, he took control. Like a lot of people say, well, Clara was like, she was trying to be the doctor. Every time that Peter Capaldi would speak or walk in a scene, who's Clara? What is she talking about? She's over here just doing this. I'm not listening to her. I'm seeing him. I'm seeing what he's saying. And he could do it every single time. I mean, when he came out and said, I'm the man that stops the monsters.
Yeah, exactly.
I mean, to me, it's like, wow, that elevated that whole, and I just totally forgot that the fact Claire was being a smart ass. I don't care. I'm here for the doctor. That's the only reason why I watch the show. I don't watch it for Clara. So for me, all those other side characters and companions, they're great. But for me, it's always been about the doctor, because why am I here if I'm not watching it for the doctor? And
I can't tell you what I wouldn't give to be able to attend a complete lecture like the one his doctor gave in the first, the pilot episode, the one with Bill, where he's sitting there in the lecture hall giving the the lecture to all the
Right,
students
right,
about.
right.
I
Yeah.
thought the first time I saw that, I thought, man, what I wouldn't give to just sit and watch a whole lecture
right.
from
And I
Peter
loved,
Capaldi as the doctor.
I loved all
Yeah.
that, and I loved the way, they loved their dynamic, and I loved, I mean, again, when he was on the screen, I could care less what Bill was saying most of the time.
Yeah,
I
no, I get
mean,
it.
she was great, but it's like I think that he really did take control. A
I
lot
mean,
of
when
people don't
you
think
have a
that, but
character or an actor that kind of
yeah.
captivates you to that extent, that's rare.
And this picture here in the scene, I loved that. I love the idea that, he met Davros as a child.
Yeah.
That was cool. Like there was a lot of cinematic stuff to this that I think people have forgotten.
Yeah.
And I think what I understood what Moffat was trying to do. He was trying to make these like movies. Which I wish there would have been a movie with Capaldi, because I think it would have been a hit. I think if you had put all you could in the writing and let him take control, it would have been a hit.
I think more than any other New Who era, the Capaldi era is the one that most benefits from a chronological rewatch.
It does. It really does. And I watched it a lot. I can tell you. And it gets better every time. Even the ones you don't like. It gets better. Because you see things and you hear the way he says certain things. And it's like, yeah, I'm not a fan of, oh God, the moon one.
Oh,
Yeah.
Yeah. But I do think that it gives you a little insight of how the Doctor is. The Doctor's like, the Doctor's supposed to be above everybody. Like he's supposed to be the smartest, the most important man in the room. And if he doesn't show that, if he doesn't show any kind of like, look, this, and he wasn't wrong. Look, this is your planet. You decide. Why am I making the decision? So I didn't have a problem with that. Some people did. I thought, wow, it needs to be said. It needs saying, right?
My favorite scene in that particular episode is where he's standing on the beach and he walks down towards the ocean, and you can see his alienness,
Right.
asking him about what does he see, and he does that head thing, and then he stands up, and then, he just talks, that I love that scene.
I mean, there were a lot of anti-hero characteristics in Capaldi's Doctor. I'm not going to go so far as to say he was an anti-hero and not a hero. I'm not saying that. I'm just saying there are a lot of anti-hero qualities that he displayed from time to time. And in that episode, him doing that with Clara, you might think, well, that's maybe a little bit of his anti-hero coming out, but because he's not willing to come out and do all the thinking and this bathing.
It was a very Sylvester McCoy move.
Yeah.
And so I think he tried to show a little bit of every Doctor. And I think that the actors before him weren't able to completely do that. And I think he was that they didn't know what they had. And again, I could spend the rest of the time talking about Capaldi, but
I mean, even in really quickly, even in for example, Mummy on the Orient Express, people could point to that, and that's one of the most lauded of the Capaldi stories. You could point to that and go, wait a minute, why is he so uncaring about, he's disregarding, he's telling these people to focus and give me information as you're about to die. Why is he so uncaring and unfeeling and all? No, he's trying to get information which is going to help him solve the problem.
Right. I was annoyed at the other people. It's like, look, he's trying to just get information. Calm down.
It's like
a bunch of snowflakes in this room.
Yes.
And he really didn't. He suffered no fools, and I appreciated that. Yeah. There's a little Tucker in there. He threw a little Malcolm Tucker in there.
That scene in that particular episode when he took all of her thoughts, and he gave it to himself, and then he just, arrogantly threw the tool on the table. It's like, I've got it now. It's like, right. I love it. I love it.
Yeah. He light bulb moment every time, and the music started too when you started to figure it out, which I loved.
Yes.
Yeah, I love this era, and I don't care who knows it. I don't care.
No.
If people don't want to rewatch it, it's up to them. But you should rewatch it because you will have a different opinion.
Yep.
I think Rabbi did a stream, and he did actually rewatch it, and he said that he had a completely different opinion after he watched it. So there you go. So the next one is also very predictable, and I know Michelle says she started watching it. I know, Gary, this isn't your thing, but just you'll have to suffer. You'll have to suffer through it.
Does it start with an S?
Yes.
Oh, here
Yes.
we go.
Yes. And you see Mark David, not Mark, I guess Mark David Shepard.
What we were about to say it.
David Chapman. Starring Mark Shepard. I love you. I love you. Back there in the picture back there, which I love his character of Crowley. I love the show because it is dark, but there is a lot of fun episodes. They kind of mixture in like a lot of comedic elements to it. Yes, it is dark, but it is also very episodic as well, because as much as there's a story arc, there are also standalone episodes, and I think it's cool the way they mixed it. There's much more story arc later on, which I think that's when I started kind of getting less interested. But the show started out pretty much as two brothers just riding around the country, basically looking for their dad, played by Jeffrey D. Morgan, who's a fabulous actor. They were lucky to get him. I wish he had been there more, because he is just a great actor. And, finding out what basically had killed their mother, which was a demon.
Right.
But just them riding around, just like, and some of the episodes weren't all like horror based. Some of them were like the Outer Limits. Like they had a bug episode. They had,
I don't like the bug episode.
You like that one. And then they had this Changeling episode. They had different ones, and a lot of them were based on urban myths and things like that, which I prefer that. I don't. It's when they brought in the angels and the demons, and it was all the time. Then it kind of got old, but even then, there were some really, 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 really great episodes. And obviously, I love Dean Winchester. I love his attitude. He's kind of like a Chad Everett type, which they did have Chad Everett on the show, which he played like hilariously. Dean had lost his youth in a bet. It was in like a poker lounge. It was like supernatural. Like he bet his life to get information. He bet all his years, and he actually turned into Chad Everett, which was totally hilarious. Because he was trying to be the same.
27 episodes? I had no idea there were that many.
Yes, there's a lot of episodes, a lot. And it went on. It was the longest. They say it's science fiction. It is some of that, but I guess it's a sci-fi horror genre. It's the longest running in basically, I think, the American one. So that is a feat. When they lost Eric Kripke, who also produced The Boys, I think it started faltering a little bit. I think it got a little bit stupid. But again, there were still some great episodes. There's a Groundhog Day episode called The Mystery Spot, which even if you don't like supernatural, you could watch that episode and like you wouldn't even have to know what was going on. And it's basically where Sam and Dean they go into this town and investigate this missing guy that has been investigating this place called The Mystery Spot, which is like it's like one of those places you go into, like it's like the table's like stapled to the ceiling, nailed to the ceiling. And it's like, you're in the mystery spot, all these weird things happen. And it's like, it's physics. And so they think this has something to do with it, but they go in and it's like the first thing that happens when they break into this place is Dean gets shot and dies. Right. So Sam wakes up and the same song's playing on the radio. So it's very Groundhog Day, and it's kind of funny to see all the ways that Dean dies, like brushing his teeth, electrocuting himself. It's very, and there's a lot of fun stuff to it. And the ones I prefer aren't necessarily the real hard, serious ones. It's stuff like that. That's why I watch it.
In the chat, Maggie says that's one of her favorite episodes.
Yes, I know she's watched that, and she's the one that got me in this series because I wasn't like into the whole fandom thing, and I started watching it, and it was the first fandom that I was introduced to. I've been to 2 cons; they're a lot of fun. The Mystery Spot.
As much as I rib you about this series on Discord, I have always appreciated your passion and your commitment for a show, because it is really something that when you find a show that you connect with and that resonates with you forever, and you don't want to let it go and you want to kind of hold it tight, and I totally get that. I appreciate that.
And there's elements of everything in it, and yes, it's very gory, and that's been the hard thing. It was hard for me because I don't like gore specifically, but they soften it sometimes with comedic elements and things like that. My other favorite episode is a much more serious one. It's called Lazarus Rising. And it's one of those episodes where it was I wish that they went into a very spiritual realm with it, which I appreciated, but it went weird spiritual later, where Dean actually goes to hell because he sells his soul to bring his brother back, which their dynamic together, they're always sacrificing for each other. It's like that's their weakness. That's what gets them every time. And he sells his soul to a demon, and he's got 1 year. They
So
give him 1
basically, he
year.
becomes a Democrat then, right? Oh, I'm
Yeah.
sorry, I just had to say it. It was too easy. You opened
Later,
the door,
he
I'm
becomes
gonna
a
walk
Democrat
through it.
after he comes back from hell. No, actually, he was a Republican after he comes back from hell.
Okay.
And I like, and he obviously goes to hell. And I did appreciate the way that they didn't sugarcoat what hell was like at all. The way that they described it was pretty much what the Bible describes it. And he comes back, but what I liked about it is he actually, the episode's called Liza's Rising, and the reason it's called that is because Castiel, who's the angel in the show, played by Misha Collins, who's also in the show called Gotham now. Gotham Knights.
That's right. Yeah, Gotham Knights.
He pulls him out from hell. And I'm giving spoilers away, Michelle. I'm really sorry, but
That's
this is
okay.
awesome. I have to say this. And he pulls him out, and of course he's coming out from the grave, and he doesn't know what's going on, and just this whole thing. And he obviously everything's set up for him. Like God set all these things up for him. Like, here's a gas station. There's nobody in it. You can take all this food. And about that time, you hear this ringing, and all the glass breaks, and he doesn't know what's going on. And obviously, the angel's trying to talk to him. And just the way when he meets the angel later, and he tells them, I'm the one that grabbed you from perdition and raised you up. And I was like, wow, that's epic. It's just the whole thing of, redemption. And that's why I like this show. There's a lot of redemption. Now, it got real weird spiritually that some of this stuff kind of offended me later on. But just the beginning and when you didn't see who God was and all that was very interesting. The way that they did it. I think it just got too long in the tooth. But the other episodes that I like besides Lazarus Rising, I'll give one more, is an episode called Baby, which is about the car. And it's basically from the car's perspective, which is a 1967 Impala, which is an awesome car. And just the way that they did it and the filming of it and just the funness of it. I think he meets some kind of creatures or something. And it's just seeing it from the perspective when he gets in these altercations with these creatures. It's kind of comical. And I really liked it. And also the thing about Supernatural is, and I'll stop there, is the kick-ass soundtrack. They have the best soundtrack ever.
I like the music. Yes.
Ever. I mean, it is just like from AC/DC to Kansas to just like Bad Company. It is like, and it's cool because it's cool to see a character like this guy that's like, he's not unabashedly, he will hit women in the face. Like if they got demon in him, he doesn't care. He's going to punch you in the face. He does not care. He's like the Jim West of Supernatural.
That's cool.
And I like that, and
this is why I'm actually kind of surprised, because I know how passionately devoted you are to the show.
Yeah.
And yet even the admittedly probably weaker kind of spin-offs and stuff, you kind of either don't watch or dismiss, because normally I know that genre fans, there's like a compulsion to watch every spin-off and iteration. It's like you almost have like a physical compulsion. It's like, I know it sucks, I know it's terrible, but I've got to watch it anyway. I just kind of have to. And you've kind of like just
right. I actually tried to watch 5 minutes of the Winchesters, and the reason why I did is like, okay, maybe because I knew he was going to be in it. And that was why I'm like, okay, I'm interested in that. And the scenes he was in, I just watched the clip where he was in it in the last episode, and it was good. But it was basically they actually did a Back to the Future type of episode, which I loved. I loved it because like Dean gets sent back to the past by Castiel to see why he needs to stop like this yellow-eyed demon from killing his mom. And he goes back and he goes into the diner, and there's a scene, and the pop culture references just, I love them. He comes in and he's like looking at a guy that looks kind of like him, and he's trying to figure out like, and it's this Back to the Future moment. It's things like that I just love how they kind of, sync those things up along with lots of Doctor Who references. There's a character named Amy Pond in one episode too. And there was a Cyberman picture in one episode where it's called. I could go on all day, but there's a few Doctor Who references. Obviously, Kripke was a fan of Doctor Who. But yeah, and it's just it was no need. It wasn't needed to delve into this relationship of these with his parents when it had already been done in like a 3-story arc over time. The actors they got were better in the series in Supernatural than what they get for this. So I watched 5 minutes. I was like, I can't deal with this. So I tried, but no, for me, this is the original, and there's just so many fun. The Scooby Natural episode, I could go on all day. I'm just not.
Yeah.
But I did find some interesting facts that I actually didn't know, and I know a lot. The first one being the show was heavily influenced by the 1970s series Kolchak the Night Stalker.
Love Kolchak. Love
so
Kolchak.
I didn't know. Yeah, I mean, it's. I mean, from what I've seen from Kolchak, I wouldn't have got that, but I think Kripke was really influenced by that because he loved it. So that was really the most important. This one I laughed at because the show was originally supposed to be called Unnatural. No, glad they didn't do that one.
No, Supernatural fits it better.
Yeah. It's basically a show about urban legends. And if you're kind of into that, I mean, especially early on, I think it went on urban legends. But
if they would have my first instinct is if they would have called it Unnatural, that would have really been opening themselves up to a lot of problems because depending on what subjects they covered, they would go, oh, so you're saying that's unnatural? Like people online and stuff, that would just be opening them up to too many problems if they would have.
Yeah, her cat agrees with you. Totally.
Yeah.
He's like, yep, Carrie. Characters were named based on a Google search. Well, I can't talk. Yeah, so yeah, I think that's enough about that. I do need to do a whole stream. Once you watch all of them, Michelle, we'll do a stream.
Yeah, if you do want to watch it, I mean, it kind of has like an X-Files vibe.
It was
sort of.
Actually, I think. Okay, and I could be wrong. Was Kripke involved in X-Files?
I don't know.
I'll have to look.
I've never heard that name. I've never heard that name before. I mean, he could have written an episode or so.
There was somebody I heard that would be involved in that show and was involved in the X-Files. So there is some episodes that are very like X-Files, the ones that I've seen anyway.
And how many seasons did this have?
15.
So more than 13.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, 2 more. But like a lot of times, but in 2007, the one I just rewatched, I forgot during season 3, it was during a writer's strike in 2007. So they only had 16 episodes, but normally it was like 21, 22, sometimes 23. There's a lot. All right. So the next one, I'm going to be brief because we could be here another hour. But Stranger Things, obviously, I mean, ad nauseum.
I don't think I've seen this photo before.
Yeah, this is for season 4. I think. Is it? I don't know. Maybe it is. Yeah, because he's got this laptop. That's
Yeah.
So we all know what this show's about. And if you don't, then I don't know what to tell you. I'm not reading all of this. I'm tired. I'm ready for lunch.
Which, if there's one reason to hope that the writer's strike gets settled quickly, it's so that they can start production of the 5th season of this.
This one and Cobra Kai.
Yes.
Those are the 2 important ones. Other than that, I don't care if late night shows go down. I don't care if The View goes down. Just save my Stranger Things and save my Cobra Kai. And I'll
Amen, sister.
Yes, exactly.
Yeah, it's a great show. I like the show because it is definitely one that it's not episodic by any means, but it is one of those shows that it's like reading a novel, and it's like a big long movie. And,
you can binge each season as a movie.
Yeah, you could, and that's how I view them, as a big long movie, a big long miniseries that they would have had when they did good miniseries on television by like Salem's Lot or something like that. And I like the H.P. Lovecraft themes and the alien themes and the Dungeons and Dragons. It's just like
all the 80s evocations and everything have just been note perfect, every single one of them. From what's on their shelves in the basement to the furniture, the type of furniture in the kitchen and what they're using in the kitchen, everything is like, I remember that. I used to have that. Oh yeah.
Right.
You know, it's
right. Oh yeah. I remember we did the stream and I was like, the stream was forever because I kept like, look at that. Look at that.
Yeah. Well, even down to the bicycles, the banana
Right.
seat bicycles.
Right. There's
you
a
know?
lot of good memories there. And I think
Yeah.
people, it's very nostalgic. And again, I think I've talked with you in one of our first streams when we discussed Stranger Things in the news, like the Eddie
Yeah.
Munson character is like, that's
Yes.
like my friend, like I had friends like him.
Yeah, exactly.
And I knew guys. I knew like a lot of guys like him, and they were cool. You know, they
Mhm.
weren't cool by, you know, the school, like most of the people
Right.
at school, but I hung out with people like that. So
Yeah.
It's nostalgic without deifying the past, without saying everything about the 80s was perfect, you know, or idealizing it or making it more than it was. It's like it evokes the memories without saying, oh yeah, it was all perfect.
Mhm.
yeah. And it was like, I like the way that they did. Okay, this is a small thing, but like the way that they did the girls' makeup, because girls did not look like Patty Smythe from The Warrior in high school. They looked like they didn't wear a lot of makeup. Their hair was very like it wasn't like, yes, it was big, but I mean the
Yeah.
makeup and the way they dressed was not like how girls dress today. And I like that they really kept to that. They didn't try to like,
Mhm.
you know, sometimes when they do nostalgic shows, they put too much of modern day stuff in it.
Yeah.
And I think this is a good example of them not doing that for sure. The Winchesters is not one of those. They didn't know how to do the 70s at all. Which is a problem for me. It takes me out when it doesn't look authentic. And this does. And I'm
Yeah.
looking forward to season 5, even though I feel like I don't know. I could think like it's almost too much, you know. After
Well, but
season
here's
4,
the thing though. I mean, I understand we don't get into weeds here, but obviously Cobra Kai's already made this, since you brought up Cobra Kai's already made the statement that
right.
yeah, we're still in the midst of writing, but you know, we're putting it down in solidarity. I'm thinking I'm actually looking around and have my radar up for articles about Stranger Things, because Stranger Things was and possibly is due to start filming in June. That's actually was locked. And I'm thinking that I want to say Russo Brothers, but that's the end game. The Duffer Brothers who do this. I'm actually thinking this entire season was already written.
I'm sure it was.
Because
there's not going to be a problem.
Yeah, because if they're going to start filming in 4 weeks or whatever, all the pre-production had to be done, which means all the scripts are done.
And I'm pretty sure, like, listen to the thing, I don't think the Duffer Brothers are going to be like cheapskates on writing. I just can't imagine that.
Oh yeah, they're not going to be late. Let's write an outline now, and we'll write more as we're actually filming it. No, I don't think that's how you do it.
Right, and also I think they pay their people probably pretty good.
Yeah, so there's every possibility that this might not really be that affected by the strike.
Yeah, Cobra Kai might be though.
Oh, Cobra Kai definitely will be. Yes.
But the talk shows, they can all go away. I don't care if they ever bring talk shows back.
Yeah.
Who cares? But no, this is worth season 4. To me, season 1 and season 4 are my favorites. Bar none.
And then there's an animated spinoff coming.
Yeah, and I don't know. I don't know about that. We'll see. We'll see how that goes. I'm not like thrilled about it, really. I mean, again, I don't have to watch everything, you know? That's the beauty of it. You watch what you like, and then you move on. But I don't want to take too much time because I do have an engagement later. We're having his brother over, so kind of want to I'm gonna move on from Stranger Things because again, be here all day. Yep. I know most of these, and I'm most of it's pretty much, and if you're watching the show and you're an obsessed fan like I am, you're probably gonna know them. I'm probably next time probably won't take so much facts in because I don't know. I just got kind of crazy with it. The next one this is kind of an older cult movie. And I say cult because it wasn't very popular when it came out. I just watched this today because I love it. Every time it comes on TV, I'm going to watch the show. And it's not a complete like normal chick flick movie because it has a darker tone to it. And I'll read the synopsis really quick. Practical Magic is 1998 American fantasy romantic drama film based on the 1995 novel the same name by Alice Hoffman. The film was directed by Griffin Dunn and stars Sandra Bullock and Nicole Kidman as sisters Sally and Gillian Owens, respectively. The story follows the Owen sisters who come from a long line of witches as they navigate love, loss, and the consequences of their magical abilities. The film received mixed reviews, with some critics praising the performances of Bullock and Kidman, while others criticized the film's pacing and tone. This doesn't really describe the show. The show is basically about two sisters who are cursed that if they ever fall in love, like their mother did, there'll be some kind of death beetle that
I've
will
never
come.
even heard of this movie.
Yeah, and basically what happened was like their ancestor was tried as a witch, and she was angry because all the lovers in the town who were married, basically the one that she was in love with that she got pregnant by, she was exiled, and then they basically just he left her there and didn't come for her. So she said that if she ever found love, that her husband or whoever she loved would die in an accident or whatever. So their mother actually their dad had died. There's some kind of beetle that comes out, and then if you don't destroy the beetle, they're dead. So Sandra Bullock basically makes a spell that's saying that she makes this perfect man that that she thinks will never exist, so that she doesn't happen to her. Well, she meets another guy because her aunts, who are played by Stockard Channing and Diane Wiest, make a spell for her because they want to see her happy, and she falls in love with this guy, and that same thing happens to her. Nicole Kidman is like the character is like, she doesn't want to fall in love. She has all these relationships, and the man laying on the table is Goran Visic. I think his name's Goran Visic. I don't know. He was in ER or one of those shows, or Grey's Anatomy. I don't know.
What's up with the whipped cream in this show?
Oh yeah, because she didn't have anything to make a 5-pointed star, so they used whipped cream.
Okay.
Yeah, so basically he's a real jerk, and so he tries to kill Nicole Kidman, and Nicole Kidman's great idea is to bring the guy back from the dead, which obviously does not work out. So it's just about them dealing with all of this, and then their aunts find out.
Was this the inspiration for the Charmed TV show? Because when I read about sisters who are witches, I think of Charmed. I'm wondering, is this movie where they got the idea for the show?
I don't know. I don't think so, because Charmed came out before this movie came out.
Oh, really? Did it? Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, in the 90s, right?
Yeah, early 90s. I think probably this is probably like a movie. There was a book by obviously Alice Hoffman. I've never read it, in 1995. So I think that was later on, but that might have been inspired by Charmed, because Charmed was like really popular.
I thought Charmed was later.
No, I think it was early. I think it was maybe 93 or 94. Maybe it was 95. I don't know. I've watched a little bit of it. I could never really totally get into it, but it's a very, very good movie. It is kind of, it sounds like it's all dark, but there is a lot of like that kind of like chick flick thing, but it's totally good. It's a really good show.
Interesting.
And it has a great soundtrack, Stevie Nicks.
Oh,
yeah. So Stevie Nicks, and it's actually happier than what it looks, but they have to deal with this guy comes, and then they obviously it doesn't work out, and then they have to deal with the cops coming in, played by Aidan Quinn, who's I love.
Was
him.
This a hit when it came out? Because like I said, I never even heard of this.
No, it wasn't. It was panned, but I caught it. I think I rented it, and I became obsessed with it. And like every time it's on, I just watch it. Wow. I just love it. It's kind of like the Witches of Eastwick feel,
right?
But I like this one better.
Okay.
And it's cute. It's got Stockard Channing in it, so there you go, right there.
There you go.
So. Let's see if I have anything in here. Not really. Yeah, the film's budget was $75 million, but it only made roughly $6.8 million worldwide, so it's not good. Despite being a cult classic now, the film did not initially do well at the box office or with critics. A Real Witch.
Oh, it has Alan Silvestri music. He did the Back to the Future score.
Yeah, it's actually, like I said, it's a really well-made film. I think it doesn't get the love it deserves because it's enjoyable. It's like, it's fun. It's got fantasy. It's got witches. I mean, it's got great music. It's just a good show.
What's up with that next to last bullet?
Whenever a woman in the Yeoman's family
No,
falls
no,
in
the
love,
one above that.
a real witch consulted on the film and reportedly later threatened to curse the filmmakers.
What's
That's
that about?
messed up. I don't know.
Really?
I need to dig deeper into that because that's really interesting.
Could that be why it wasn't a hit?
Maybe
I'm
so.
serious. That's a serious question.
No, that could be because if you watch the show, telling you, I mean, it's a chick movie, right? But if you watch it, Gary, I'm telling you, it's a good show.
Oh,
Even
I
my son,
liked Sandra Bullock back in the day for sure.
and she looks great in this movie. Like this was her peak.
Yeah.
Like she looks, and Nicole Kidman, of course, looks gorgeous. I mean, and here's my last one.
Oh, really?
Yes, this movie right here. Every time it's on TV, I get like just caught up in Ray Liotta's like narrative voiceover. I'm like, yeah, I'm there. I'm watching you. I've seen this movie so many times. I can't even count anymore. But it is a phenomenal Martin Scorsese film. I think this is a better film than The Godfather. I know people will like hate me for that, but it's so much better because the ensemble cast: Robert De Niro, Joe Pesci, and Ray Liotta. And I also like this movie because Henry Hill was a real person. Goodfellas is a 1990 American biographical crime film directed by Martin Scorsese based on the 1985 nonfiction book Wise Guy by Nicholas Pileggi. The film stars Robert De Niro, Ray Liotta, Joe Pesci, and Lorraine Bracco, who is also in The Sopranos. It tells the story of Henry Hill and his life in the mob, covering his relationship with his wife, Karen Hill, and his mob partners, Jimmy Conaway and Tommy DeVito. The film received widespread critical acclaim upon a release and was nominated for 6 Academy Awards, with Pesci winning for Best Supporting Actor. The film's infamous funny how scene was improvised by Pesci. I can believe that. Goodfellas was based on a true story, and the screenwriters for the comedy My Blue Heaven had special access to Pileggi, who was married to her. Yeah, I love this film.
The fact that you equate Joe Pesci beating somebody to death with a baseball bat as a comfort watch is disturbing to me.
This is what I'm talking about. This is what I'm talking about. But it's not just that. It's just like I love true crime. So that's it's a weird thing to say, but it's not just that. It's like it's the way, and I know a lot of people didn't like the Ray Liotta narrative that he comes up with, but the first scene when they're throwing a body in the car, I'm like, I'm there. What's going on here? Because it's my true crime brain starts being very active. Right. And so, and I love mob films. I love mob movies. I can't help myself. I love the whole Italian thing. I love the way they take care of business. I mean, hey, it's not the right thing to do, but man, we're men, like taking care of their business. Paul Sorvino is also incredible in this. But for me, the scene that gets me, as much as you hate Joe Pesci's character, is a scene where he's telling his mama that he's going to be a made man, right? That I'm going to get made today, Mom. I'm making it. And then he literally goes to his death. That is riveting. And because, the whole thing was a setup, the whole thing, because they didn't like how he was going around talking in the town. And, it's a really, it's just, I don't know if you've ever seen it.
I've seen bits and pieces. My husband likes the movie, so
yeah,
because we talk about that and The Godfather, but I think he likes this one better.
Yeah, it's just in his descent, like Henry Hill is, his descent of like he's really like in the top of the heap, and then just being involved in all this, he gets into drugs, he starts dealing. It's a very, I don't know.
Did you watch The Sopranos as well? I
did. I watched all of it. Sopranos is a great show, except the last episode. Yeah, I love mob films. It's something that I'm just like, it's a guilty pleasure, I have to say. I do love a Casino is good. I just like that whole thing. Iceman is good. I've watched that. I just like the whole true crime. Yeah, it has Michael Shannon in it. And that's another chilling guy right there is I can't remember his name right offhand. Jason probably could scream the name out to me, but yeah, Michael Shannon is in it, and that's actually a true story. That guy was completely like, talk about no scruples and no soul. He's up there. But yeah,
well, that is an eclectic combination of movies and TV shows. I gotta say,
it is.
Yeah,
it really is. We have mystery, we have mob bosses, we've got like horror, we've got lots of sci-fi, but lots of mystery, and they're all of them have murder in them.
One way or
All of
another.
them. I don't know if Mission Impossible does, but it does, I'm sure.
Well, you mentioned you like investigating serial killers. Do you know about H.H. Holmes?
Yes.
Yeah, I mean I found that one
in
day.
His murder house.
Yeah,
actually, they actually have a supernatural episode too. That was really good too.
Okay,
H.H. Holmes.
Cool.
Yeah, I mean, I could do a complete, like, my other desire eventually, when I can quit my job because I'm making all this money on YouTube, is to actually have a true crime podcast.
Okay.
I would love that.
Cool.
You know,
that'd be great.
It would.
I listen to that.
Yeah, I go over and over the these horrible people, and I probably really miss my calling. I should have been in the FBI because I love figuring out what makes people tick, even the worst people. Some of them are hard. Some of them hard to stomach. I can't do it all the time because it's too much. But I think people need to be aware of these people though. I think it's real important. I'm very paranoid, and there's a reason for that. I think one podcast I listened to, I like this line. Fresh air is for dead people. Don't open your windows. Don't keep your windows open. Don't keep your doors unlocked. Fresh air is for dead people. And I think that's true for these days.
Man. Yeah. Well, you're not wrong. So.
Well, anyway, I hope everybody enjoyed this because I did.
I hope we gave people a lot of ideas, maybe to try shows they've never even
heard
of.
It's like and I think that we did a good job of being very eclectic today. And that was
absolutely.
Because it's not all. You don't always have to be sci-fi all the time. I mean, we could talk about Rockford Files. We talk about Kolchak or whatever. Oh, that's horror, but different. Yeah,
Kolchak is horror, but it kind of sounds like supernatural in that there's a lot of comedy in it. As well, funny stuff. It's not just straight on like Salem's Lot.
And that's what's important to me, because I know that sounds. A lot of people don't like that, but I think you can. I don't like it in everything, but I think in certain shows you can make it work. It's just like she was saying, there's comedy in Stargate Atlantis.
But it is. There is.
And even for example, something like Leverage, I know that the guys who created and wrote that show were Doctor Who fans, because sometimes as they're going in on these cons and pretending to be like one of the episodes I watched the other day, Timothy Hutton's like walking up the stairs, is like, "Hi, I'm Agent Tom Baker, and this is Agent Josephine Grant." And it's like you just sit there and go, "Wait a minute, what?"
That's funny that you said that, because on Supernatural, when they pretend to be FBI agents and they're going in, they're trying to get into the autopsy room, right? They're like, they always use classic rock names like, I'm Agent Tyler, I'm Agent Perry, I'm Agent, that's what reminds me of. That's funny.
Yeah, they're always dropping Doctor Who names on Leverage. Yeah. It's funny.
Right. And again, I think that connects you with the creators, because it's like when I watched the episode with the Amy Pond name, I was like, oh,
it does.
And she was like some sea creature. Like she was like, and it just made, I was like, and then like the magazine with the Cyberman on it. And I swear, the fact that they use salt in the gun shells, image of the Fendal. He did that. Tom Baker put rock salt.
That's right.
In So I was like, I know, I see you, Kripke.
I have to do a shout out to Allison. Thank you so much, Allison, for sticking with us. And Maggie, yay. Kolchak is my Kolchak set is right over there. Kolchak is one of the all-time greats, but no, I mean all these things. And you know what I've noticed, with a couple of exceptions, I think with my Death in Paradise exception, which may be the only kind of currently running show that we're doing, most of the stuff that we picked is older than about 10 years, which is pretty much the dividing point when everything went south. And so I don't think that that's accidental.
No,
the fact that everything that we're picking to give us comfort is back when they were really just worrying about good acting and good writing.
Right.
Well, we are going to head out and I hope everybody enjoyed it. I'm gonna go like get some food because
Thanks for having me, Galactic Gals. I always have a lot of fun.
Oh, I enjoyed it.
Yeah, so we're gonna head out with some groovy
Wait, are you
rock
seriously
music.
telling me there's exit music here? This is
Yeah.
awesome.
Yeah.
How awesome is this?
This is great.
Yeah, I keep forgetting to use it, but yeah, it's on the StreamYard.
That's
So
fantastic. Bye, everybody in the chat. Thanks for sticking with us.
Bye, everybody.
See you guys later.
Bye, Richard Doc. Bye, Michelle. I'm gonna head.
Bye-bye.
Bye.